Chapter 1. That's right. No one has reached the peak of Black Sword Sect's Path of Swords for 300 years. Chu Yang, since you've done it today, the position of Sword Sect's young master is yours. On the square that was filled with bluestones, a middle-aged man in black clothes looked at the white-clothed youth standing in front of the great hall and smiled faintly. But what was surprising was, the young man only shook his head indifferently. He looked up at the young girl beside the middle-aged man with a hint of infatuation in his eyes. Sect Master, I'm not climbing the Path of Swords for the position of young master. Qin-chan and I are of the same mind. Please grant us our wish. How dare you! The middle-aged man in black was stunned and looked nervously to his side. There was a handsome young man in black sitting there calmly. He was drinking tea with his head lowered, as if the disturbance in front of the hall had nothing to do with him. Sect Master, if you don't agree, I'll leave Black Sword Sect today. Chu Yang's face gradually darkened. He couldn't understand why Sect Master Yi Luyun, who usually cared for him, would heartlessly separate him and Qin-chan. In the past 3 years, the two of them had cultivated together and the Sect Master had never stopped them. But ever since Ling Xiao came to Black Sword Sect, the Sect Master's attitude towards him changed. Today, he climbed the Path of Swords just to prove to everyone that his talent was worthy of Yi Qin-chan. How dare you! Chu Yang, you've repeatedly challenged the dignity of the sect. What are you up to? Yi Luyun clenched his teeth and quickly calmed down. Although Chu Yang's talent was indeed terrifying, he had even obtained the inheritance of the Sword Sect. But the young man sitting behind him was even more terrifying. Because of his identity, Black Sword Sect and even all the other sects in the northern wilderness could not afford to offend him. The 5 regions of Heavenly Barbarian, East, West, South, North, South, and Xingzhou. The strongest person in the 4 wilderness was only at Paoang. According to the ancient records of the Sword Sect, above Paoang was the threshold of cultivation. Only by stepping into Paoang and becoming an immortal could one break through the barrier of a region and step into Xingzhou. And Lord Ling Xiao in front of him was someone who came from Xingzhou to train. Yi Luyun firmly believed in this point. Ling Xiao, if you have the guts, then fight me today. Chu Yang did not care about Yi Luyun's anger. Instead, he provoked the youth in black. Hearing this, the young man's hand that was holding the teacup suddenly stopped in midair. A cold light flashed in his eyes. With just one look, everyone in the square felt suffocated and their heartstrings tightened. If this young master was angered today, not only would the Xianjian sect be in trouble, even the entire northern wasteland would be destroyed with a single thought from him. However, Ling Xiao was not angry at this time. He was even a little confused. He was supposed to be writing his novel at home. When he was tired, he would lie down and take a nap. How did he end up here the moment he opened his eyes? At this moment, the memories in his mind began to merge. Soon, he understood that he had actually transmigrated. However, looking at Chu Yang in front of him, he felt that something was wrong. When other people transmigrate, they would usually have to go through a series of trials and tribulations. His family had declined, his dantian had been shattered, his bone structure had been dug out, and he had been despised by his clansmen. Even though he had a confidant that he liked, she had been taken away by a powerful force for no reason. But why did he have such a prominent identity right from the start? The young master of the Universal Demon Sect. This identity, even in the Xingzhou, was a shocking existence. No matter how he looked at it, he did not look like a proper male protagonist. Moreover, when Chu Yang ascended the Path of Swords and obtained the inheritance, he was more like the destined person who was protected by the heavenly Tao. He should be the protagonist of this story, right? So, he should be the stepping stone of this destined man? Ling Xiao, aren't you very powerful? Are you afraid of me, an early-stage ethereal spirit? Ling Xiao, if you are a man, fight with me. Today, either you die or I die. Beep, the system has detected a provocation from the destined person. Crushing him in front of him can obtain the mission reward. In the face of Chu Yang's roar, Ling Xiao was particularly calm. He did not even look at him, because he was digesting the many memories that suddenly appeared in his mind, and this familiar system notification sound. But in the eyes of the people in the square, this scene was a demeanor of contempt for the world. Lord Ling Xiao, unfathomable! An extraordinary person could provoke him. Especially the red vertical line between his eyebrows, it was more like a symbol of talent. It was demonic, mysterious, and terrifying. In comparison, the halo of Chu Yang's sword path seemed to be not so dazzling. Impudent! Men, capture this traitor who looks down on the sect. Lock him in the cliff of reflection to calm down. In the end, Yi Luyun did not dare to directly expel Chu Yang from the sect. After all, apart from Ling Xiao, Chu Yang's talent was indeed the strongest in the sword sect in 100 years. If such an outstanding sword path genius entered another sect, in less than 5 years, he would definitely become a big problem for the sword sect. Chu Yang, why don't you surrender? Beside Yi Luyun, 2 white-haired elders in long robes immediately walked out. Sword intent surged around them as they shouted coldly at Chu Yang. Ling Xiao, you cowardly rat, do you only dare to stand behind others and seek protection? Chu Yang was forced to take 2 steps back by the sword intent from the 2 elders. His talent was close to demonic and he had luck, but his realm was too low. However, if it was an ordinary person at the early stage of Void Spirit Realm, facing the pressure of 2 experts at the peak of the Awakening God Realm, he would have long been suppressed to the point that his whole body would go soft and his urine would flow. In this way, Chu Yang was indeed very strong. Ling Xiao looked at the ferocious Son of Destiny in front of him, and the corners of his mouth gradually raised into a smile. You want to King use me as a stepping stone? Are you worthy? I have written countless Sons of Destiny. I know all the tricks you play. How can I be easily played to death by you? Humph, Chu Yang, you boast shamelessly and try to provoke the young master. Today I will teach you some lessons. A young man in white suddenly walked out of the crowd. With sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, he had an extraordinary appearance. He was the direct disciple of sect master Yi Luyun, Xiao Gu. This person's talent was not bad, but he was cunning. Since the day Ling Xiao came to the Black Sword sect, he had been looking for an opportunity to get close to him. Now that he finally had a chance to show off, he naturally would not let it go. Not bad. Ling Xiao nodded, a trace of playfulness flashing across his eyes. Since he was a villain, why didn't he keep a few licking dogs by his side? Good. Xiao Gu, good job. When Yi Luyun and the other sword sect elders heard Ling Xiao's praise, their faces froze for a moment, and then they all clapped their hands and praised. Xiao Gu, if you can take down this traitorous disciple today, the position of young master will belong to you. Yi Luyun shouted softly, and the aura of the peak of the void spirit realm on Xiao Ji's body instantly became stronger. Sure enough, as long as he followed the Lord Ling Xiao, good fortune and whatnot would be easy to obtain. Chu Yang die. Xiao Gu took a step forward, and the spirit sword behind him roared like a dragon. The sword intent that filled the sky turned into a lotus, and instantly slashed down towards Chu Yang's head. Amazing! Senior Brother Xiao is indeed worthy of being the sect master's personal disciple. I'm afraid that even an awakened person would find it difficult to withstand this sword intent. This time, Chu Yang is finished. Sigh, what a pity. For a woman, he ruined his great immortal path. A woman? If it was you, would you want the good fortune or junior sister Yi? Of course it's junior sister Yi. All the disciples looked at Xiao Gu, who was flying through the air with an unparalleled sword intent, with a look of shock on their faces. Before today, Xiao Gu was the undisputed #1 person in the younger generation of the Xianjian sect. But today, Chu Yang had climbed to the top of the path of swords and proved his talent. Sooner or later, this number one person would be trampled under his feet. Therefore, at this moment, Xiao Gu stood out, firstly to curry favor with Ling Xiao, and secondly, to protect his own reputation and status. Buzz! But the moment Xiao Ji's spirit sword landed, the situation in the square changed again. A golden light soared into the sky from Chu Yang's body, transforming into a long dragon out of thin air. Suddenly, it looked like a huge sword, slashing towards Xiao Gu. Defeated. Ling Xiao took a sip of the tea in his cup and shook his head slightly. Chu Yang will not lose. Beside him, Yi Qingqian suddenly chuckled. There was some inexplicable admiration in her eyes as she looked at Chu Yang. Ling Xiao turned to look at her curiously. He had to admit that Yi Qingqian was indeed worthy of the title of the number one beauty in the northern wilderness. Her skin was as white as snow, and her face was like a painting. Her green robe was ethereal and elegant, and her hair was like a waterfall. As she looked around, there was a sense of tenderness. Her jade-like hands were slender, and she was indescribably delicate and lovely. You trust him a lot? Ling Zhao's smile grew wider. In fact, when he said that Chu Yang had lost, it was Xiao Gu and not Chu Yang. Xiao Ji's realm was higher, but the sword intent on Chu Yang's body had an obvious trace of the aura of the great Tao. It was normal for the Son of Destiny to kill enemies of a higher realm. Hearing this, a look of fear flashed across Yi Qingqian's face. She quickly retracted her gaze and looked down at the young man beside her. For some reason, although he was not looking at her, Yi Qingqian felt that he had already seen through her. Chapter 2. Why aren't you saying anything? Ling Xiao raised his head and drank all the tea in his cup. And from the beginning to the end, Yi Qingqian did not say a word. She had already found out about Ling Zhao's background from her father, and she also knew that her father had the intention of letting the two of them become Tao companions. Facing a young master from the Xingzhou continent, she did not dare to offend him in the slightest. Whatever the young master says, it's what it is. At this moment, as the proudest girl of the Xianjian sect, she actually behaved extremely humbly. Interesting. Ling Xiao looked at Yi Qingqian meaningfully. From her eyes, Ling Xiao did not see a trace of perfunctory. It was obvious that she was an extremely shrewd woman. Of course, if she wholeheartedly protected Chu Yang, Ling Xiao would definitely resent her and even kill her. From the looks of it, she was also a very smart woman. Boom! In the center of the square, Chu Yang and Xiao Ji's figures finally collided. Terrifying sword intent instantly tore through space, turning into a whirlwind that swept out in all directions. Many of the disciples who were closer immediately released spiritual light, desperately resisting the corrosion of the terrifying sword intent. I'm afraid Chu Yang is doomed. The disciples looked at the two figures in the center of the whirlwind with deep shock in their eyes. One was the current number one genius of the Xianjian sect, the other was a peerless monster who had reached the peak of the Sword Road. The collision between the two was naturally terrifying. However, no matter how high Chu Yang's talent was, his cultivation was still 3 small realms lower than Xiao Ji's. Therefore, no one in the entire square thought that he would be able to gain the upper hand in this collision. Pucci. However, just as the sword intent in the air gradually dissipated, everyone was stunned to see one of the figures fly out and fall to the ground. It was Xiao Gu. On the other hand, Chu Yang's white robes fluttered in the wind. The long sword in his hand overflowed with golden light, like a sword immortal that had descended from the 9 heavens, carefree and unrestrained. How is this possible? Even the Xianjian sect leader and the few sword sect elders had a look of astonishment on their faces. It was obvious that they found this result unbelievable. The corners of Yi Qingqian's mouth unconsciously curled up, and she quietly turned to look at Ling Xiao. But what surprised her was that Ling Xiao's face did not show the slightest bit of shock. Instead, there was an indescribable mockery. Yi Qingqian suddenly felt a little flustered. She realized that she couldn't see through what this young master was thinking. He was sometimes deep and sometimes frivolous, as if everything in the world was under his control. Of course, Ling Xiao wasn't surprised by this outcome. He had already written so many stories about the chosen one stepping on a bootlicker. Sensing the change in Yi Qingchan's expression, the smile on Ling Xiao's face widened. Sure enough, they were a pair of lovers. However, as a villain, he naturally had to have the demeanor of a villain. Acting tough and slapping faces. Am I not more skilled than you? I've been slapping people's faces since I was born. I spent most of my waking hours acting tough. Chu Yang, I'll kill you. On the other side, Xiao Ji's eyes were bloodshot after being defeated by a single sword strike. Obviously, he didn't expect Chu Yang to be so strong. Just one sword strike was enough to injure him quite a bit. Brother Xiao. Ling Xiao suddenly opened his mouth and stopped Xiao Gu, who was about to pounce on Chu Yang. Then, he took out a pill and threw it at him. This is a third-grade spirit-gathering pill. Brother Xiao, take a rest first. Young master, Xiao Gu caught the pill and smelled a whiff of medicinal fragrance. His heart trembled and he felt his bones go soft. Spirit pills and whatnot were not important. The important thing was that Lord Ling Xiao actually called me Brother Xiao. Brother Xiao. Lord Ling Xiao from the Xingzhou called me Brother Xiao. The happiness of a bootlicker was sometimes so simple and unadorned. A third-grade spirit pill. Cries of surprise came from the square. In the northern wilderness, although a third-grade spirit pill was not considered a great fortune, it was still rare. But Lord Ling Xiao actually threw one to Xiao Gu so casually. It was as if he was throwing an ordinary item. Thank you, young master. Young master is so generous. I'm afraid. Xiao Gu looked flattered. Although he said that he was afraid, the joy in his eyes was very real. Even the eyes of the surrounding disciples flashed with envy. If they knew that they could get a third-grade spirit pill by taking a sword strike, they would have rushed up to teach Chu Yang a lesson. Xiao Gu hesitated for a moment and finally put the pill into his mouth under everyone's envious eyes. Buzz! Then, something unexpected happened. Xiao Gu, who was originally injured and dispirited, suddenly bloomed with dazzling golden light. In a short moment, his aura broke through from the peak of the void spirit realm to the awakened spirit realm. Gulp! The entire square instantly fell silent. Everyone looked at the black-clothed young master in front of the hall with deep desire in their eyes. What did cultivators care about? Spirit treasures. But these were all worldly possessions. Only by having a strong cultivation level could one survive in this world. On this journey, everyone wanted to cultivate with all their might to increase their cultivation level. But this Lord Ling Xiao in front of them casually bestowed a pill that could allow them to break through their cultivation level? In the Tian barbarian continent, cultivators were divided into 9 realms. Body cultivation, true essence, supreme harmony, void spirit, awakened spirit, soul sea, xianqing, paoang, and immortal ascension. Especially the first level of the void spirit realm, it was a watershed in cultivation. Many people were trapped in this realm, unable to make any progress in their lives. And just now, at this moment, no one cared why Chu Yang was so strong. Everyone was thinking about how to get along well with this mysterious young masterling. Even Yi Luyun glanced at his daughter without leaving a trace. If Yi Qingchan could really follow this young master, not only would it be a good fortune for her, it would also be a great fortune for the entire Xianjian sect. In these few years, the Xianjian sect had been declining day by day, not only because of the incompetence of the disciples, but also because the strongest Grand Elder of the Xianjian sect was close to immortalization. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, once a sect lost the protection of the strongest, it would definitely end up in a miserable state. Ling Xiao looked at the reactions of the people in the square with satisfaction. Being a stepping stone was really comfortable. At least he did not have to be mocked and despised wherever he went like the protagonist. He also had to use all his trump cards every time he was in a predicament, taking all kinds of risks to turn the tables. As a villain's stepping stone, what Ling Xiao had to do was to enjoy everyone's worship with a clear conscience, and then use his strength to crush the destined child in front of him. Haha, Lord Ling Xiao, I've let you see a joke. I'll send people to capture this traitorous disciple. To be honest, Yi Liuyun's old face was a little gloomy at this moment. Today, when Chu Yang ascended the path of swords, he invited many powerful people from the surrounding forces to watch the ceremony. After all, a dazzling genius would be able to intimidate those forces with ulterior motives in a short period of time. But he really did not expect that Chu Yang was dazzling enough, but he had firmly slapped him in the face. Not only did he threaten to leave the sword sect, he even provoked this mysterious Lord Ling Xiao by name. No need, since he wants to fight, then I'll give him a chance. Ling Xiao put down his teacup, raised his head and looked at Yi Qingchan. Miss Qingchan, between us, who do you think is stronger and who is weaker? I don't dare to make wild guesses. Yi Qingchan's pretty face froze, and then she lowered her head in fear. Don't dare to make wild guesses? Ling Xiao smiled. The meaning of this sentence was that he might not be Chu Yang's match. Chapter 3. To be honest, Chu Yang's sword was indeed stunning. Xiao Gu, as the #1 prodigy of the Black Sword sect, could not withstand Chu Yang's sword. Ling Xiao was a few years younger than the former. In the eyes of the crowd, although his background was mysterious, his cultivation was not much higher than Xiao Ji's. Chu Yang obviously had not used his full strength, so it was understandable that Yi Qingchan had confidence in him. Smart woman. But even so, Yi Qingchan did not dare to go against Ling Xiao's face. She only used the words, "I don't dare to make wild guesses," to brush it off. Ling Xiao, if you have the ability, fight with me fairly. Whoever loses will leave the Black Sword sect and Yi Qingchan on their own. Do you dare? Chu Yang looked up at Ling Xiao, the sword intent on his body roaring above his head. He hated it. If not for this Lord Ling Xiao who suddenly appeared, today would be the day he confessed to Yi Qingchan. Although the two of them had feelings for each other, they had not received the approval of Yi Liyun. 3 years of hiding and enduring, desperately cultivating. Now that he had the power of the sword path and obtained the greatest fortune of the Black Sword sect, he should have been the most dazzling prodigy of the Black Sword sect and even the entire northern wilderness. But he did not expect that this Ling Xiao, who suddenly appeared, would take away all the glory that belonged to him. Not only that, he even wanted to take away his most beloved woman. Actually, Chu Yang had really misunderstood Ling Xiao on this point. How could he not see that the woman in front of him liked Chu Yang? Moreover, he was not a man with a brain full of worms. If not for Chu Yang's provocation, he would not even look at Yi Qingchan. After all, taking away someone's love was not what a gentleman would do. But Ling Xiao changed his mind. You're about to step on me to become the destined body. If I continue to pretend to be a gentleman with you, wouldn't I be courting death? As a stepping stone, if he did not want to become the background of this era, he had to do everything possible to destroy the destined body's Tao heart. The woman is mine, and the good fortune in your body is also mine. Are you worthy? Ling Xiao shook his head casually. He stood up and looked at Chu Yang in the square. You! Chu Yang's imposing manner was obviously stifled. In truth, even if he had not obtained the sword sect's inheritance, he was confident that he could crush this arrogant Xingzhou young master before him. This was because he possessed a great fortune that no one else knew about. Isn't he just from the Xingzhou continent? What's the big deal? Could it be that even a dog from the Xingzhou continent had to be worshipped? However, he did not expect that Ling Xiao would still be so pretentious at this point. But that's fine as well. Go ahead and pretend. See how I'll crush you later. Chu Yang calmed down, and stretched out 3 fingers towards Ling Xiao. You want to finish me off in 3 moves? Ling Xiao laughed. He really laughed. Sure enough, the pretentious tricks of these children of destiny were all similar. At the start of the game, he was looked down upon by everyone. Then, he would make a pact of 3 moves and forcefully slap the arrogant young master's face. From then on, he would gain the attention of the sect and the admiration of many beauties. And, logically speaking, the plot should indeed be like this. Unfortunately, the one he met was Ling Xiao, a villain writer who had transmigrated and was bound to the system. No need to be so troublesome. I don't even need 1 move to finish you off. Ling Xiao shook his head. Suddenly, a ray of green light bloomed from his body. Immediately after, heaven and earth seemed to darken. An indescribably terrifying power instantly swept out. In an instant, the entire square was filled with gales. Spirit patterns flickered, and there was a faint sound of thunder descending. Even the Black Sword sect master Yi Liuyun's face suddenly turned pale. This aura is so powerful. Lord Ling Xiao, so powerful with Yi Liuyun's Soul Sea Realm cultivation. He was also a top person in the northern wilderness. However, at this moment, he actually felt incomparably terrified, not to mention those disciples below whose cultivation was only at the void spirit realm. At this moment, everyone looked at the godlike black-clothed young master in front of the main hall. Other than worship, there was also endless fear in their eyes. Puchi. Chu Yang's body couldn't even hold on for a second under the pressure of Ling Xiao's aura. His body suddenly trembled, and then he fell to his knees on the ground. He was like a dead dog, breathing heavily. This aura, he's actually... Jiu Xiao! Jiu Xiao! Chu Yang roared madly in his heart. At the same time, he desperately called out an unfamiliar name. However, there was no response. Ling Xiao looked at the youth, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog with interest, as well as the green jade pendant hanging from his neck. His eyes were full of mockery. Born from a small aristocratic family, to be able to walk step by step to where he is today, killing enemies across realms, and ascending to the peak of the Sword Peak. If one said that this Chu Yang did not have some fortuitous encounters, no one would believe it. It was obvious that there was a strong cultivator behind him who was guiding him in his cultivation. The cultivation method and martial art he cultivated was definitely not something from this region. It was very likely to be something from the Xingzhou. But so what? With Ling Xiao's identity and background, even in the entire Xingzhou, he was an existence that people looked up to, and the cultivation method he cultivated was the best in the Xingzhou. Not to mention that he was a peerless genius that only appeared once every 10,000 years in the entire 5 regions. Beep! The Chosen One's mind has been injured. Congratulations to the host for successfully plundering 30 luck points. You have received 300 villain points. Just as Ling Xiao was secretly sneering, a strange and emotionless voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Luck points? Villain points? Ling Xiao was stunned. After fusing with the memories of this body, he already knew his own trump card. The Sky Demon's true body. This was a forbidden physique. It was said that it had only appeared once in the entire 5 regions. It was so powerful that the top experts of the Xingzhou had to join forces to barely destroy it. In that battle, more than half of the top experts of the Xingzhou had died. Even now, everyone still trembled in fear at the mention of this forbidden physique. Ling Xiao's secret was only known by a few close relatives in the clan. Otherwise, he would not have been able to survive until now. And this time, he had come to the lower realm because he had been summoned by something. This summoning must have something to do with his demon body. However, never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the system would be able to rob the destiny of the destined person. The so-called luck had always been a symbol of the heavenly Tao. Once he, a top-notch villain with top-notch talent, plunder enough luck, what would others do? Ling Xiao really wanted to laugh, but his rationality told him to restrain himself. At the same time, his rationality also told him that these villain points should be of great use. Young master is amazing. This is simply crushing. Lord Ling Xiao did not even make a move. This Chu Yang is really reckless. Too terrifying. As expected of a young master from the Xingzhou. Hearing the flattery of the people in the square, Ling Xiao appeared very calm. His black robe fluttered in the wind, and his expression was lazy. His demeanor was no different from that of a god. It was laughable that Chu Yang thought so highly of his talent that he dared to provoke Lord Ling Xiao. Now, he was directly crushed into a dead dog by a wisp of someone's aura. Now, do you know the difference between me and him? Ling Xiao turned his head and looked at Yi Qinchan, who was already dumbfounded, with a gentle smile on his face. He was a completely different person from the domineering and cold person just now. Chapter 4. At the front of the hall, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back. Although there was a smile on his face, the depth in his eyes sent chills down one's spine. Chu Yang still maintained his kneeling posture. At this time, his clothes were already drenched in sweat. It was clear that it was not that he did not want to resist, but that he did not have that strength. Young master is mighty. We are terrified. Yi Luyun glanced at his daughter, who was still in a daze, and hurriedly bowed to Ling Xiao. These few days, he only knew that Ling Xiao came from Xingzhou, so he was very respectful to him. But he really did not expect that this young Xingzhou young master's cultivation was actually so terrifying. To be able to shake the mind of a Soul Sea realm expert, his cultivation should at least be at this level? A 17 or 18-year-old Soul Sea realm expert. Yi Luyun swallowed his saliva and became even more determined to hug Ling Xiao's thigh tightly. Chu Yang was very good, but he had to be given time to grow. In this world there were plenty of talented youths. But how many of them eventually became overlords of a region? Moreover, in the Four Wilderness, any faction that was related to Xingzhou was now in existence that ran amok in a region. Yi Luyun did not count on Ling Xiao to bring him to Xingzhou, but if Yi Qinchan could capture this young master's heart, would his Black Sword sect still need to fear others in the future? Sect master is too kind. It's just some small tricks that can't be shown in public. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His words and actions were humble, without any arrogance, making countless people in the square look in awe. This was the demeanor of a powerhouse. Not arrogant, not rash, humble and polite. In comparison, Chu Yang's wailing ghost wolf appearance just now was really a little vulgar. Beat. Congratulations to the host for successfully instigating Yi Luyun's master-disciple relationship, in line with the villain's style. Obtained 300 villain points. This works too? Ling Xiao was a little dazed, but he was delighted in his heart. In this way, villain points were much easier to earn than creation points. And at this time, those powerhouses from other factions who were watching the show could not help but guess Ling Xiao's identity. Although they did not associate it with Xingzhou, from Yi Luyun's attitude, they could tell that this black-clothed young master must be from a wealthy family. However, Chu Yang's talent was right in front of his eyes. Although Ling Xiao was strong, he was not a disciple of the Xianjian sect, and if Chu Yang was determined to leave, wouldn't that be a loss for the Xianjian sect? Of course, Ling Xiao did not care about what they thought. Instead, he could not wait to call out the system. System. Immediately, a character introduction screen appeared in front of him. Master, Ling Xiao. Identity, Myriad Dao Demon Sex Young Master. Divine Constitution, Sky Demon True Body, Forbidden Constitution. Cultivation, Late Stage Soul Sea Realm. Technique, Myriad Demonic Arts, Sky Demon True Body, Talent, Eye of Nirvana, Talent. Luck, 30. Villain Points, 600. Obviously, these 30 luck points and villain points were obtained from slapping Chu Yang's face. In other words, this system should have just awakened. Otherwise, with Ling Zhao's original domineering personality, he must have played a lot of villainous roles on a daily basis. These two values definitely shouldn't be so low. System, what's the use of luck points and villain points? This was what Ling Xiao was concerned about. Only when your luck points exceed the Child of Destiny can you accept the killing mission and obtain the final reward. Villain points can be exchanged for items from the system store. Sure enough, it was similar to what Ling Xiao had expected. Karmic luck was something that was slightly illusory, mysterious, and strange. Actually, at the end of the day, it was just something that the writers used to fool the readers. Otherwise, how could the protagonist casually pick up a broken stone on the side of the road, and there was an old grandpa's remnant soul inside? Why couldn't others pick it up? 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west. If the enemy was ruthless and merciless, then why would they let you swim to the west? Therefore, all of these illogical things were luck. After all, to reach the peak on the path of cultivation, not only did it require terrifying talent and a tenacious heart, but it also required a portion of luck. With luck on his body, he would naturally be able to turn misfortune into fortune. He would be able to revive on the spot as long as his life force was not extinguished. Chu Yang was the original Child of Destiny. His own luck had already reached 500 points, and Ling Xiao only had a total of 30 luck points. If he were to kill him now, there would definitely be unforeseen events, and he might even lose his own life. Logically speaking, Ling Xiao shouldn't understand these things, so he could only be a stepping stone. But now, to Ling Xiao, these tricks were not fresh at all. Plundering luck points, that's interesting. Ling Xiao's gaze swept across the entire audience. He realized that amongst the disciples of the Xianjian sect, only Chu Yang's luck was the highest. Next was Yi Qinchan, who was standing beside him, who had also reached 400 points. The original female lead, without any luck, was simply a waste of her devastatingly beautiful appearance. System, can luck points only be plundered? If he were to kill Chu Yang, Ling Xiao would naturally not feel the slightest bit guilty. However, Yi Qinchan's looks were not bad, and her temperament was just right. To be honest, Ling Xiao still couldn't bear to kill her and plunder her luck. Moreover, generally speaking, good-looking women in novels would definitely be blessed with luck. Ling Xiao couldn't possibly kill them all, right? Wouldn't it be nice to stay by his side and do something he loved when he had nothing to do? There are two ways to obtain luck points. One is to suppress and kill, and the other is to subdue and possess. The system's answer was simple and clear, and the corner of Ling Xiao's mouth couldn't help but raise into a smile. This would be much easier to handle. How dare Chu Yang, you have repeatedly provoked the sect's dignity today. Men, lock him up on the cliff of reflection and wait for the Lord Ling Xiao to deal with you. Yi Luyun shouted coldly and looked at Ling Xiao probingly. Ling Xiao nodded, but he was secretly laughing in his heart. How could he not know what Yi Luyun was thinking? However, he really couldn't kill Chu Yang now. He had to figure out what he was relying on, and then slowly play him to death. As for Yi Qinchan, of course, he had to keep her by his side. After all, with her looks, even in the Shringzhou, she was definitely one of the top beauties. Have you seen enough? Ling Xiao looked at Chu Yang, who was slowly getting up from the ground, and said softly. Hearing this, Yi Qinchan was stunned. She looked down at the empty cup in front of Ling Xiao, and hurriedly picked up the teapot and filled it to the brim. To be honest, at this moment, Yi Qinchan still hadn't recovered from the shock. She really didn't expect that the mysterious Xingzhou young master's cultivation would be so terrifying. Originally, Brother Chu Yang was like a celestial being in her eyes. She had long known that Chu Yang's battle strength was more terrifying than most peak ethereal spirit. But there was always a limit to killing across realms. Otherwise, how could everyone survive? For a moment, Yi Qinchan really did look forward to the world of the Xingzhou. Ling Xiao, if you don't kill me today, I will definitely kill you in the future. In the square, Chu Yang got up from the ground with difficulty, and saw Yi Qingchan bending over to pour tea for Ling Xiao. Her snow-white chest was no longer as charming as usual, but rather a little dazzling. He really couldn't figure out what was wrong with these people in the sect. Why were they all as docile as a pug when they saw Ling Xiao? Even Jiu Yi, who had promised him to become an immortal, had disappeared. One had to know that he was the one who was favored by the heavens. Holding his teacup, Ling Xiao raised his head and glanced at Chu Yang with a hint of a smile on his face. Boring, Miss Qingchan. Why don't you come to my room and we can do something interesting? Chapter 5. Before Yi Qingchan could put down the teapot, she was shocked by Ling Xiao's sudden gentleness. She didn't know why, but she felt flattered in her heart. Something interesting? She immediately understood Ling Xiao's intentions. He was deliberately humiliating Chu Yang. This Lord Ling Xiao was indeed very sinister. He pretended to be calm on the surface, but who knew what dirty things he was thinking in his heart? Ling Xiao, give me 3 more days if you can. 3 days later, we will have a fair battle. Chu Yang had completely collapsed at this moment, especially the hesitation on Yi Qingchan's face. In his eyes, it was a betrayal. He had already obtained the inheritance of an ancient sword expert at the peak of the path of swords. As long as he was given 3 more days, once he completely integrated the inheritance, he was confident that he could defeat Ling Xiao. Of course, this kind of confidence was blind and unrealistic, but Chu Yang was the destined one. As long as he did not die, there would naturally be opportunities sent to him. Do not bully the young for being poor. This was an ancient rule, but Ling Xiao did not have the slightest intention to pay attention to him. Instead, he gently reached out and held Yi Qingchan's soft and white hand. He turned and walked towards the back of the hall. Yi Qingchan did not look at Chu Yang from beginning to end. She knew that Ling Xiao was deliberately acting for Chu Yang to see. She also knew that her actions would cause Chu Yang to misunderstand. But in front of Ling Xiao, she did not have the courage to resist. Compared to the safety of the entire sect, Chu Yang's misunderstandings were not worth mentioning. In the worst case, she would go and explain to Chu Yang later. She believed that Chu Yang would definitely forgive her. At this moment, Yi Qingchan only hoped that Ling Xiao would not go too far. Otherwise, she could not do anything. Pfft! Ling Xiao! I will kill you! Kill you! Looking at the 2 people who were holding hands and gradually walking away, Chu Yang's mind trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood 100 feet away. Men, lock Chu Yang up on the cliff of reflection and chain him up. Let him reflect on his actions. Yi Luyun secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Lord Ling Xiao was magnanimous and didn't kill Chu Yang. The magnanimity of the young master from the Xingzhou continent was indeed incomparable to the average person. Chu Yang acted so recklessly, but he actually managed to preserve his dog life. It was one thing for him to not be grateful, but he actually dared to provoke Lord Ling Xiao. He really didn't know what was in his head. Looking at the 2 people disappearing into the distance, Yi Lioyun's old face instantly smiled like a little chrysanthemum. Something interesting? Hee. As long as Yi Qingchan could follow Lord Ling Xiao to the Xingzhou, in a few years, their Xianjian sect would become the overlord of the entire northern wasteland. At that time, even if the old ancestor's lifespan was exhausted, there would definitely be no forces in the northern wasteland that would dare to provoke them. In the past few years, as the rumors of the Xianjian sect's supreme elder's lifespan spread like wildfire, there were already many forces eyeing them. Especially now that no one in the younger generation of the Xianjian sect could support the sect's prestige, it made people see the end of this ancient sect. If not for the Supreme Elder being in seclusion all year round to reduce the loss of his lifespan, those people would have already lost their patience. But even so, after a long time, there were still people who began to care about the foundation of the Xianjian sect. The previous Chu Yang was the hope in Yi Lioyun's eyes. He didn't look down on this young man who walked out of the mountain city at all. He even intended to let his daughter be on good terms with him. But now, with the sudden appearance of Ling Xiao, talent and temperament were meaningless. Beep, the son of destiny's mind has been injured. Congratulations to the host for plundering 100 luck points and 1,000 villain points. On the other side, hearing the system's voice, Ling Xiao's lips curled up into a smile. It seemed that this so-called son of destiny didn't have a good temperament. These 100 luck points and 1,000 villain points were really easy to earn. The reason why the villains in the past died was because they didn't know what luck was, nor did they know who was truly protected by the heavenly Tao. It wasn't that Ling Xiao didn't want to kill Chu Yang just now, but once he made a move, there would definitely be a change. After all, the title of Son of Heaven's mandate was not something that anyone could be worthy of. Now that he had plundered 130 luck points from Chu Yang, if he worked harder, he would have more luck points than Chu Yang. At that time, wouldn't it be as easy as crushing an ant to kill him? When the two of them reached the back hall, Ling Xiao let go of Yi Qingchan's lily-white hand. The latter's face was a little red, but her eyes gradually calmed down. Everything that Ling Xiao did today could not escape the word evil. He could clearly kill Chu Yang directly, but he insisted on attacking his state of mind time and time again. Yi Qingchan simply couldn't guess what the Xingzhou young master was thinking, so she instinctively felt that he was very dangerous. Ling Xiao turned around and closed the hall door, his eyes impudently staring at the number 1 beauty of the northern wilderness. Although there were many beauties in the Xingzhou, Yi Qingchan was really beautiful. Her skin was creamy, and her eyes were like limpid autumn waters. She was as graceful as a swan, and as graceful as a swimming dragon. This was a peerless woman who could make anyone fall for her at a glance. Even in the Xingzhou, she was a devastating existence. Although Ling Xiao was not a person who was infatuated with women, he was a normal man. Take off your clothes. Very suddenly, Ling Xiao said to the woman in front of him. Young master. Yi Qingchan suddenly revealed a panicked expression, her beautiful eyes revealing helplessness and fear. I told you to take off your clothes, so take them off. But Ling Xiao did not have the slightest intention of being protective of the fairer sex. He was still as domineering as before, completely in control of everything. Yi Qingchan closed her eyes in despair. For a moment she really did want to die. But if she did something irrational, the price would be the entire Xianjian sect being buried with her. Beep, congratulations to the host for successfully humiliating Yi Qingchan. Your actions are in line with the style of a villain. You have received 300 villain points. The system's voice was very beautiful, but at this moment, Yi Qingchan's body was even more beautiful. Rustle. With the sound of clothes falling to the ground, Yi Qingchan was soon left with only a piece of underwear. Ling Xiao swallowed hard, and 2 lines of tears flowed down Yi Qingchan's face. Were you bitten by some poisonous creature before? Ling Xiao's hand touched Yi Qingchan's chest, his face full of enjoyment, but his voice was still cold and calm. Yi Qingchan clenched her teeth, especially when she felt that hand gradually moving down. Her face revealed a look of humiliation. After a long while, she finally reacted. What did the young master say? There's still poison in your body that hasn't been cleared, and it's blocking your meridians. In the past few years, when you were cultivating, you often felt unbearable pain. Ling Xiao's palm caressed every inch of Yi Qingchan's skin, with a serious expression on his face. Yi Qingchan was stunned. Young master is checking my pulse? A few years ago, when she went out to train, she had indeed been bitten by a demon. At that time, Yi Luyun had spent a lot of effort to get someone to detoxify her. But from then on, she found that her cultivation speed was getting slower and slower. Every time he broke through, he would feel the pain of his meridians breaking. But how did Lord Ling Xiao know? Could it be that she had misunderstood him? At this moment, Yi Qingchan's heart trembled. Chapter 6. It's not a big problem, just a little troublesome to solve. Ling Zhao's expression was serious. He hesitated for a moment before taking out an elixir. This is a third-grade spirit-nourishing elixir. You should be able to expel the remaining poison in your body after eating it. Actually, he didn't know anything about poison. He was just messing around just now to make a show of it and to satisfy his craving. However, this third-grade elixir could neutralize most poisons in the world. Naturally, there was no challenge in dealing with poisons in this desolate place. As the daughter of destiny, Yi Qingchan was definitely not going to be easy to subdue. Using force was definitely not going to work. The best way was to make her feel touched. Of course, this touching was not like drinking more hot water. Instead, it was to give her some hope when she was at her most desperate. Ling Xiao was able to pull this off easily. Lord Ling Xiao, as expected, Yi Qingchan was stunned. When she looked at the mysterious Xingzhou young master in front of her again, she was no longer as resistant as before. Looking at his clear and deep eyes, Yi Qingchan even felt a little shy. So, he was not as bad as he looked. Third-grade elixir. Could it be that Lord Ling Xiao had feelings for her? As she thought of this, Yi Qingchan's face became even more shy. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and consume it. It should help your cultivation level. Ling Zhao's lips curled up slightly. At this moment, the system's voice sounded again. Beep, Yi Qingchan has changed her mind. Stealing 50 luck points from the Son of Destiny Chu Yang. Villain points increased by 500 points. Damn, this works too. To be honest, Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He originally only wanted Yi Qingchan's body, no, her luck points. He didn't expect to receive such an unexpected reward. It seemed that there were quite a few ways to obtain luck points. Young master, it's getting late. You should rest early. I'll go back and refine it. Yi Qingchan hurriedly put on her clothes and turned to leave. Although she was somewhat touched by Ling Zhao's actions, this Xingzhou young master was truly unfathomable. His style of doing things was both righteous and evil. Yi Qingchan did not feel safe with him. The poison in your body can't be expelled just because you want to. It's best if you refine it in front of me. That way, I can help you in time if anything happens, Ling Xiao said casually. Then, he turned around and walked to the bed to close his eyes and cultivate. He believed that Yi Qingchan was a smart woman. If he didn't ask her to leave, she wouldn't dare to. Of course, Ling Xiao had his own reasons for doing so. Since instigating the relationship between her and Chu Yang could give him luck points, he might as well make her break up with Chu Yang. Earlier in the square, Ling Xiao had already seen that Chu Yang already harbored resentment towards Yi Qingchan. If Chu Yang were to find out that Yi Qingchan had spent a night alone with him, what would the consequences be? This, sure enough, Yi Qingchan hesitated for a moment, but in the end she obediently walked to Ling Zhao's side. I don't like others around me when I'm cultivating. Stay away from me. But what Yi Qingchan did not expect was that Ling Xiao would actually take the initiative to chase her to the side. His expression was 70% indifferent and 30% puzzled, as if saying, I just want to cultivate. Why are you so close to me? To get some warmth? Ever since she was young, this proud daughter of heaven had always been the one who was sought after by others. She had never been treated with such disdain before. This made her feel a little frustrated. Of course, Yi Qingchan also understood that with Ling Zhao's status, he must have come into contact with many beautiful women. How could he possibly be interested in her? With this thought, Yi Qingchan suddenly felt a little inferior. Ling Xiao naturally did not care about Yi Qingchan's thoughts at this time. But he understood that if he wanted to win a woman over, playing hard to get was the most effective way. Especially at this time, Yi Qingchan's disappointed face, Ling Xiao could not help but smile. Sure enough, it was good to read more books. After Yi Qingchan ate the elixir, she quickly entered into a state of cultivation. In fact, when Ling Xiao said that it was dangerous, He was just trying to scare Yi Qinchan. Now, looking at the gradually surging aura of the young girl, Ling Xiao suddenly opened his eyes and walked out of the hall. Elder Yin. Young master. In the void, the figure of an old man in a black robe slowly emerged. Did you feel it? Young master, are you talking about the expert behind Chu Yang? Elder Yin's thin face revealed a trace of seriousness. As the personal servant of Lord Ling Xiao, he naturally paid attention to everything that happened today. Just now, when the young master's aura spread out, there was indeed an aura that did not belong to him on Chu Yang's body. Although this aura was very subtle, it could not escape Elder Yin's eyes. Yes, it should be hidden in the jade pendant on Chu Yang's neck. Elder Yin, can you feel his cultivation level? Or his origin? Facing a child of destiny, Ling Xiao did not dare to be careless. Although in the four barren lands there was basically no one that he was afraid of, but karmic luck was truly unpredictable, and he didn't want to accidentally lose his life here. I don't think it's a human expert. It feels more like a demon. Elder Yin's real name was Yin Ming, and he was a loyal servant of the Ling family. His cultivation level had already reached the Paoang stage. Although he was not considered a top expert in the Xingzhou in the four barren lands, he was definitely the strongest. Elder Yin, go and find out about Chu Yang's background, and also find out the origin of the expert behind him. Ling Xiao frowned. A demon expert? Among the four barren lands, the demon race had been entrenched in the eastern barren land. If the expert behind Chu Yang was from the eastern barren lands, then things would be much easier. Elder Yin alone was enough to suppress the four barren lands. But if he was from the Xingzhou, then things would be a little troublesome. Currently, the forces in the Xingzhou were all deterred by the holy sect. Although there were many human forces left, most of them were hostile towards each other. Only the demon race was in the same holy land, and they had always advanced and retreated together. Moreover, the body of a demon expert was much stronger than that of a human at the same cultivation level, and their innate talents were even more terrifying. Therefore, Ling Xiao had to find out the origin of the expert behind Chu Yang before he dared to make a move on him. Don't worry, young master. Elder Yin nodded. His figure gradually turned illusory, and he disappeared into the void. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, returned to the main hall and summoned the system again. Owner, Ling Xiao. Identity, Myriad Dao Demon Sex Young Master. Divine Body, Sky Demon True Body, Forbidden Constitution. Cultivation, Late Stage Soul Sea Realm. Cultivation Method, Myriad Dao Demon Art, Sky Demon True Body, Talent, Eye of Nirvana, Talent. Luck, 180. Villain Points, 2400. The system has detected that the host's luck has exceeded 100. An additional newbie gift bag will be given. Host, do you want to open it immediately? Newbie gift bag. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment, but he chose to open it without hesitation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a Demon Dragon Sacred Armor, Peerless Dao Artifact, can withstand an all-out attack from an Immortal Ascension Realm expert. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a Divine Soul Origin Crystal, Fusion can reach the Immortal Ascension Realm. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Forbidden Soul Assimilation Ancient Technique. The system store is opened. The host can choose to exchange items or increase his cultivation. Chapter 7. Devil Dragon Sacred Armor, Divine Soul Origin Crystal, Soul Assimilation Ancient Technique. Ling Xiao nodded in satisfaction. It really suited his identity as a villain. Especially that forbidden technique. Just the name alone made people feel that it was quite evil. The so-called soul assimilation naturally referred to absorbing one's soul for one's own cultivation. It could also control one's mind. Although there was still a gap between it and his taboo demon body, it must be an extremely terrifying technique. Ling Xiao put on the sacred armor and heard a dragon's roar. The originally ferocious and terrifying demonic armor disappeared under his skin. Ling Xiao nodded in satisfaction and then began to fuse with the divine soul origin crystal. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand the pressure of an immortal ascension's soul. Just like before, Ling Xiao only released a trace of his soul C's aura and directly crushed Chu Yang, the chosen one. And once his soul realm was comparable to an immortal ascension expert, he would probably be completely crushed by Chu Yang's gaze. Buzz! In the back hall of the Black Sword sect, a fierce wind suddenly blew. Bolts of blinding lightning fell from the sky like purgatory. A majestic aura swept out and instantly enveloped the entire Black Sword sect. At this moment, sensing the movement in the back hall, the entire Black Sword sect fell into a panic. Even the sect master, Yi Luyun, looked at the thick bolt of lightning with astonishment. After confirming that only Lord Ling Zhao's back hall was enveloped, Yi Luyun swallowed his saliva. As expected of the Xingzhou young master, the aura of this breakthrough is really terrifying. The thunderstorm lasted for more than 10 breaths before it gradually dissipated. Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes. The void in front of him directly shattered, as if it could not withstand his gaze. This is strength. Ling Xiao exhaled softly and stretched his muscles and bones. No wonder people were chasing after strength. This feeling was indeed fascinating. He could feel that as long as he willed it, the spiritual energy in this world would instantly become clear and visible. Even the life force fluctuations in the entire Xianjian sect could not escape his divine soul's perception. Ling Xiao was rather familiar with the power of the soul. In the past, when the Almighties reincarnated, they all relied on the power of the divine soul. It was rumored that in ancient times, there were experts who specialized in cultivating the soul. With a single thought, they could create thousands of clones. Although immortal ascension cultivators couldn't soul transform into clones, they could still cultivate a primordial spirit and roam the world. It was just that soul techniques had long been lost. Occasionally, soul techniques would appear in ancient ruins, and it would inevitably attract many forces to fight over them. However, this was not a problem for Ling Xiao. You can have anything you want in the system store. All he needed to do was accumulate enough villain points, and he would be able to obtain everything he needed. Soul Emperor's Secret Manual, 100,000 villain points. Ancient Sacred Bloodline, 100,000 villain point. World Seed, 999,999 villain points. Ling Xiao carefully browsed through the items in the system shop. He found that there were not only ancient cultivation methods and pills, but also world seeds and sage bloodlines. However, the more precious a spirit treasure was, the more villain points it required. The 2,400 villain points he had now could only be exchanged for some Earth-grade martial arts and some ordinary spirit artifact. Martial arts credits: Creation, Saint, Heaven, Earth, Mortal. Spirit artifacts: Divine artifacts, Tao artifacts, Divine artifacts, Spirit artifacts, Bejeweled artifacts. The 10,000 demonic arts he cultivated was the top saint-grade martial art in the Xingzhou. Therefore, Earth-grade martial arts were really not attractive. System: add points to the 10,000 demonic arts. Ling Xiao weighed the pros and cons for a moment, and in the end, he decided to use the 2,400 villain points on cultivation. Although his Sky Demon True Body was tens of thousands of times stronger than a saint-grade cultivation method. However, as the demon body's cultivation level increased, Ling Xiao would also be eroded by the demonic will. If he couldn't control the demonic will, no matter how strong his cultivation was, he would eventually become a mindless killing machine. This was the reason why he joined the 10,000 demonic arts. Originally, the Ling family wanted to use the Xingzhou's #1 demonic sect to find a way to control Ling Zhao's demonic will. But in the end, they failed. The Sky Demon True Body was a 9th transformation demon. If the demon appeared, what could the immortals do to him? Now Ling Zhao's demon body was only at the first transformation, and he could still suppress it with his cultivation level. In addition, he was the young master of the demonic arts, so this secret was naturally covered up. Once his demon body was stronger than his cultivation level, the demonic will in his body would definitely be out of control. At that time, there would be no place for him in the entire 5 regions, let alone the 4 wilderness. Buzz. The night sky that had just quieted down was once again illuminated by dazzling lightning. Countless Black Sword sect disciples looked at the tribulation lightning that fell like a storm above their heads, their eyes filled with shock and fear. F***ck. Lord Ling Xiao broke through again? How cruel! And with this level and this amount of tribulation lightning, what level did Lord Ling Xiao break through? Yi Luyun was already a little numb at this time. From the first time he saw Ling Xiao, he was already completely shocked. So he was surprised by these miracles on his body, but not surprised. This aura. It seems that I have underestimated Lord Ling Xiao. Qingchan, the future of the Black Sword sect depends on you. In the back hall, Ling Xiao clenched his hands and carefully felt the changes in his body. Compared to the improvement of the divine soul, the breakthrough of the spiritual power realm was undoubtedly more direct. At this time, his physical body, divine soul, bloodline, and bones had all been greatly improved. The peak of the Soul Sea realm was only one step away from the mystic clear realm. This cultivation speed was absolutely terrifying even in the Xingzhou region, let alone the 4 desolate. Breaking through to the 6th level of the 10,000 demonic arts actually consumed 2,400 villain points. But soon, the smile on Ling Zhao's face disappeared. This feeling of becoming stronger was indeed very comfortable. It was like the 7th dimension, there were no blind spots. But the price was really a little high. He had just spent 2,400 villain points on a Son of Destiny during the day, and now he had squandered them all. However, if the elders of the 10,000 demonic arts sect knew what Ling Xiao was thinking at this time, he would probably be rotated from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. Oh, the illusory demon sacred mountain where the 10,000 demonic arts sect was located was 78,931 feet high. The 10,000 demonic arts sect was a sacred art after all. When cultivated to the 10th level, one could break through the void and become a true immortal. And Ling Xiao had just used 10 seconds to break through from the 5th level to the 6th level. He was still not satisfied? Well, it proves that this demonic arts is indeed terrifying. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. To him, there would be a lot of villain points in the future. If nothing went wrong, Chu Yang, the Son of Destiny, would give him some more tomorrow morning. He just didn't know if the fortune he was looking for was on the Son of Destiny. The next day, when the sky had just brightened, the sky above the Black Sword sect was filled with dark clouds again. There seemed to be thunder condensing, and the direction was still the back hall where Lord Ling Xiao was. Chapter 8. Did she break through? Ling Xiao had already woken up from his cultivation. He frowned slightly when he saw the layers of filth seeping out of Yi Qingchan's body and her increasingly powerful aura. The elixir he gave Yi Qingchan was indeed a 3rd-grade elixir that could expel toxins and cleanse her meridians. But he did not expect this destined woman's body to be so weak. A 3rd-grade elixir had cleansed 5 kilograms of impurities from her body and helped her break through to the spirit awakening realm. It would be normal for Xiao Gu to break through after fusing with a 3rd-grade elixir. After all, he was just a minor character. However, Yi Qingchan was the true Lady of Destiny. Logically speaking, shouldn't it be extremely difficult for such a person to break through? It seemed that the 4 wastelands were indeed worthy of the word wastelands. However, just as the tribulation lightning fell from the sky, Ling Xiao was surprised to see a shadow flash past the void above Yi Qingchan's head. It directly swallowed the terrifying tribulation lightning. This is... Ling Xiao was taken aback. He looked at Yi Qingchan's luck points and saw that it had already reached 600 points. That was 100 points more than Chu Yang, the chosen one. No wonder she could become the destined woman. It seems that Yi Qingchan also has some secret. Could it be that she has reincarnated? Ling Xiao did not see the shadow clearly just now, but it was clearly not a human shape. Also, it was different from the old grandpa in the ring. It was not a remnant soul and did not have any life force fluctuations. It was more like Yi Qingchan's original manifestation. Young master? Yi Qingchan opened her eyes and saw Ling Xiao standing in front of her with a serious expression. She was stunned. Me? I broke through? Then, the confusion in Yi Qingchan's eyes disappeared and was replaced by an indescribable ecstasy. Ever since she was bitten by that monster, she had been trapped at the peak of the ethereal spirit realm for a long time. Every time she found a sliver of an opportunity to break through, she would quickly be tormented by that intense pain. But this time, not only did she not feel the slightest bit of pain, she even felt her entire body lighten, and there was an indescribable sense of carefreeness. Congratulations! To be honest, Ling Xiao wanted to subdue Yi Qingchan mainly because he wanted to use her to attack Chu Yang. But now, it seemed that this woman's background might be even more terrifying than that depressed son of destiny who had failed to achieve his goals. Young master. Thank you. This time, Yi Qingchan was truly grateful to Ling Xiao. She suddenly felt that this Xingzhou young master was not as arrogant as others thought, and had a gentle and considerate side to him. Although when he crushed Chu Yang yesterday, he was really somewhat ruthless. But thinking about it carefully, if Chu Yang hadn't provoked him first with Lord Ling Zhao's strength, he probably wouldn't have even looked at him, right? Sometimes, relationships were just that fragile. Without comparison, there would be no harm. Beep, the woman's heart wavered. Congratulations to the host for robbing 50 points of Chu Yang's luck points. Villain points increased by 500 points. Hearing the system's notification, Ling Xiao smiled inwardly, but on the surface, he still looked calm, and there was even a little disdain in his eyes. You'd better go and wash up first. Wash up? Yi Qingchan was stunned, and instinctively felt a little shy. This Lord Ling Xiao, I just praised him a little, and now he's showing his true colors? It's so early in the morning, and he's going to wash up and sleep? But this time, Yi Qingchan realized that she didn't seem to be as nervous as yesterday. But when she looked up at Ling Xiao, she realized that he had already turned and walked to the side hall. Yi Qingchan was suddenly confused. It was also at this moment that she suddenly smelled a foul stench, and there was also a strange feeling of tension on her skin. Yi Qingchan looked at her hands, and her face stiffened for a moment. So dark, so smelly, so salty. Because of the excitement of the breakthrough, she temporarily ignored the strange feeling on her body. But now, the impurities in her body had already solidified on the surface of her skin, and even flowed into her mouth. That stench was really disgusting. No wonder Lord Ling Xiao disliked her. Now, her image in his heart, so embarrassing, so embarrassing. Yi Qingchan rushed out of the door, and Old Yin's figure slowly appeared from the void. Old Yin? Did you find something? Ling Xiao stopped, and turned to look at the old man behind him, and the corners of his mouth raised into a smile. Although she was very cautious, I still sensed her aura. Young master's guess was right. She was hiding in the jade pendant on his neck. She should be from the 9 Nether Doom Phoenix clan. Old Yin bowed to Ling Xiao, and there was a touch of indescribable seriousness on his face. 9 Nether Doom Phoenix? Ling Xiao was obviously a little surprised. He frowned slightly, and there seemed to be a dim light flickering in his eyes. Wasn't this clan taken in by the Holy Church a few years ago to serve that group of swindlers? If Ling Xiao remembered correctly, the 9 Nether Doom Phoenix clan was a first-class ancient clan in the Xingzhou continent. Although there were not many of them, their battle strength was invincible in the same realm. Especially this clan's talent, the 9 Nether Doomfire, which was said to be able to burn everything in the world. Even the Green Dragon clan, which had always been known for their terrifying physical bodies, did not dare to provoke them. But later, the Holy Church came out and took the 9 Nether Doom Phoenix clan away from the Thousand Demons' Holy Land, and they never appeared in the Xingzhou continent again. Could it be was there a secret that outsiders did not know? At this moment, Ling Xiao was suddenly curious, not only because the 9 Nether Doom Phoenix was Chu Yang's trump card, but also because of the relationship between the 9 Nether Doom Phoenix clan and the Holy Church. After all, Ling Xiao's true identity as the Sky Demon would be exposed sooner or later. At that time, his greatest enemy would be the Holy Church, which seemed to ignore worldly affairs but liked to manipulate everything in the dark. It's a little troublesome. Elder Een, can you sense the 9 Nether Doom Phoenix's realm? Since it was an expert from the Xingzhou continent, Ling Xiao had to be cautious. His strength was strong, but it was limited to the younger generation. Ancient demons like this were born with heaven-defying talent. He did not want to be burned to ashes by the 9 Nether Doom fire. It's a remnant soul. I don't know its specific cultivation, but it shouldn't be beyond the Paong realm. Elder Een was also cautious. He had to be cautious. The young master in front of him was not only the young master of the Thousand Demons sect, but also the only son of the Ling clan master. If something happened to him in the Four Barren Lands, not only Elder Een, but even his pet would not be able to escape the fate of being destroyed. A mere Paong realm cultivator was just a slightly stronger servant in the Ling clan. Even if the young master was unhappy, he could easily kill him. These servants with different surnames had long been implanted with a soul seal, and their life and death depended on their master's will. Not beyond the Paong realm? It seems that he must have been seriously injured when he was alive. This is interesting. The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled up into a smile, and then he walked out of the hall. Now, his luck value had already reached 230 points. In other words, Chu Yang, the son of destiny, only had 270 points of luck left. If Ling Xiao wanted to kill him, the heavenly Tao would not be able to protect him. Chapter 9. At the same time, in the few sects around Black Sword sect, there were experts leading their disciples towards Black Sword sect. The news of Chu Yang reaching the peak of Sword Road had already spread throughout the northern wilderness. For a destined child like him, Black Sword sect did not cherish him, but there were forces that did. Moreover, the Grand Elder of Black Sword sect had not appeared for nearly 10 years. It was also time to investigate this sect's actual situation. In the world of cultivation, the strong preyed on the weak. Everyone was fighting for luck and foundation. If the Grand Elder of Black Sword sect did not appear today, then there would only be one outcome for Black Sword sect. As for the mysterious Lord Ling Xiao, to be honest, these sect masters had never seen it with their own eyes, so they did not feel too afraid. How strong could a 17 or 18-year-old youth be? They did not know if that old thing Yiliyun's head had been kicked by a donkey. For an outsider, he did not hesitate to disappoint the pride of his sect. On a desolate mountain peak at the back of Black Sword sect, Chu Yang was locked in a dark cave by 4 black chains. He looked extremely haggard. There were faint runes on the black chains. It was obvious that they had been sealed. For the entire night, Chu Yang did not close his eyes. Of course, he did not cultivate. Instead, he called out Jiu Yi's name over and over again. At the same time, he was also looking forward to Yi Qingchan's arrival. But what made him feel despair was that the mysterious woman who had once bestowed him with countless fortunes seemed to have disappeared into thin air. As for Yi Qingchan, there was no news at all. For the entire night, she actually did not come to see him for the entire night. Could it be that she really stayed alone with that Ling Xiao for the entire night? What did they do that night? A man and a woman doing interesting things? The more Chu Yang thought about it, the angrier he became. The more he thought about it, the more he panicked. His heart was filled with humiliation. Yet, he was still tied up here. There was no way for him to go and investigate. In the end, he was so angry that he vomited blood. This imagination of his was indeed fatal. Even a destined child like Chu Yang had long lost his usual calmness. Instead, he was burning with jealousy. Little Yang, calm your mind. Don't hurt your heart meridians. At this moment, a ray of green light suddenly emitted from the jade pendant on his chest. Then, an extremely cold and gentle spiritual energy flowed into Chu Yang's body. The injuries on his body actually healed at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Jiu Yi, where did you go? Chu Yang felt Jiu Yi's aura. After all, if he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he definitely couldn't rely on himself. Sigh, little Yang, why are you doing this? Ling Xiao comes from the Xingzhou continent and his strength is unfathomable. Why would you offend him for a woman? A wisp of cool breeze blew over, and a slightly illusory figure gradually appeared in the jade pendant on Chu Yang's chest. Jiu-Yi? However, her voice was clear and sweet, and her figure was alluring. It was easy for people to yearn for her. She was Chu Yang's greatest support, the remnant soul of a Xingzhou expert. Jiu, you were the one who told me that I don't need to fear anyone in the Four Desolates. You were the one who said that as long as I cultivated according to the method you taught me, no one in my generation would be a match for me. You were the one who said that with my talent, even in the Xingzhou continent, I would be considered one of the best. Could it be that you're lying to me? Chu Yang's emotions collapsed all of a sudden. He was originally from a small aristocratic family. His father had been beaten until he was crippled and his mother had gone missing. If he had not met Jiu Yi, he could only be trampled underfoot. Jiu Yi had appeared when he was at his lowest and guided him step by step to turn his life around. It allowed him to become the most dazzling genius of their group. He even became the disciple of a northern wasteland powerhouse like the Xianjian sect and stepped into the upper class in one fell swoop. To him, Jiu Yi was his pillar of support. He was also the person he trusted the most in his life. Unknowingly, Chu Yang had even developed some unclear feelings for this remnant soul, but now, when he was being trampled on, not only did she hide, she even scolded him. Chu Yang couldn't accept it all of a sudden. For a woman? Back then, it was Jiu Yi who instigated him to capture Yi Qingchan's heart and obtain more cultivation resources from the Xianjian sect. Why? Now, she was blaming him? Chu Yang, you disappoint me too much. I did all this for your own good. That Ling Xiao is protected by experts. If I appear rashly, things will become more complicated. Jiu Yi frowned slightly. Her voice was already somewhat cold. Now, it seemed that the young man she had chosen had his mind completely messed up by that Ling Xiao. Chu Yang could not sense the existence of Elder Yin, but she could sense it clearly. Peak of Paoang. If she was at her peak, she would naturally not take him seriously. But now, if she used all her means, it was not impossible to kill him. But that would inevitably lead to more trouble. In the Xingzhou continent, there seemed to be only one Ling clan, right? If it was really that clan, even at their peak, Jiu Yi would not dare to provoke them easily. But Chu Yang did not understand this at all. This was because his background had determined his horizons. In the eyes of those ancient clan young masters in the Xingzhou continent, he was indeed an ant that could be casually crushed to death. For my own good? For my own good, you should help me kill that Ling Xiao. That way, the entire Black Sword sect will be ours. Of course, Chu Yang did not understand what the Xingzhou Ling clan meant. In his eyes, Jiu Yi was an omnipotent existence. An ant's vision had always been short-sighted. You! Just as Jiu Yi was about to lose her temper, a series of footsteps suddenly came from the mountain path in the distance. Someone is coming. Jiu Yi's figure immediately disappeared, and Chu Yang also raised his head to look outside the cave. He saw Yi Qingchan, dressed in green, with a touch of worry on her picturesque face, looking left and right as she walked towards him. Junior sister Qingchan. At this moment, the resentment in Chu Yang's heart instantly disappeared. She really could not let go of him. No matter what she did in the square before, as long as she still loved him in her heart, Chu Yang could of course forgive her. What's wrong with being a bootlicker? Why do so many people say that bootlickers are lowly and have no dignity? We bootlickers are the most dignified. We have absolute autonomy. When we want to, we can lick. When we don't want to, we can lick later. Who can force us? But why is junior sister Ye's hair wet? Doesn't she usually bathe at night? And what's with her aura? In just one night, she broke through to the awakening God stage. Chapter 10. Previously, Chu Yang had inadvertently heard Yi Qingchan mention that her cultivation had been stuck at the peak of the ethereal spirit realm for a long time. And every time she was at the critical juncture of a breakthrough, her meridians would hurt. Then how did she break through in one night? Chu Yang felt a little uneasy and his head itched. He didn't have to rely on Yi Qingchan to get out of this predicament. But he just couldn't accept the fact that a cooked duck had flown into someone else's arms. Brother Chu Yang. Yi Qingchan carefully walked into the cave and saw Chu Yang's miserable state from afar. You've suffered. After all, she had cultivated with Chu Yang for 3 years and had experienced many hardships in these 3 years. She had feelings for him. Moreover, Chu Yang had ended up in this state because of her. A prodigy angered for a beauty, punching the villain and reaching the peak of life. This was the right way to go. Unfortunately, the villains that Chu Yang had encountered were really tough. Qingchan, where did you go last night? Why did you only come to see me now? Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and his tone was a little sour. Even if Yi Qingchan didn't say it, he had guessed it. Xiao Gu took the elixir Ling Xiao gave him and broke through to the awakening spirit realm. Now that Yi Qingchan had also broken through, it was easy for people to associate it with something. Yi Qingchan's face flushed, but she didn't dare to tell Chu Yang directly that she had been with Ling Xiao for the whole night. For a moment, she was in a bit of a dilemma. In particular, Ling Xiao really didn't touch her for the whole night. But would Chu Yang believe it? For some reason, when she thought of Ling Xiao's disdainful look, Yi Qingchan couldn't help but feel a little angry. Qingchan, what are you thinking about? Chu Yang stared dumbfounded at Yi Qingchan, who sometimes smiled and sometimes pouted, and suddenly felt a tightness in his chest. This expression, damn Ling Xiao. Damn bitch. They must have done something unspeakable. Brother Chu Yang. I'm not thinking about anything. Last night, I was with Lord Ling Xiao. In the end, Yi Qingchan didn't want to lie to Chu Yang. She believed that Chu Yang would believe her, and she really didn't do anything wrong to Chu Yang. Of course, it was Lord Ling Xiao who chose not to do it. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for them to resist. You spent the night with him? A hint of scarlet flashed across Chu Yang's eyes. Yes, I came to see you right after I left Lord Ling Xiao's place. Brother Chu Yang, don't worry, I will definitely ask my father to release you from the cliff of reflection as soon as possible. Yi Qingchan's original intention was that she cared about Chu Yang, so she came to see him when she was free. But when these words fell into Chu Yang's ears, he instantly lost all reason. Did she just leave Ling Xiao's place? If the two of them didn't do anything, why would Yi Qingchan take a shower so early in the morning? Could it be that this pair of B*cheese had sex the entire night? The more Chu Yang thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. His face had already turned completely ferocious. The good cabbage that he had been thinking about for a long time had actually been taken by that bastard Ling Xiao first. Brother Chu Yang, actually, Lord Ling Xiao isn't as bad as you think. He actually has a very gentle side, Of course, Yi Qingqian didn't know what Chu Yang was thinking at this time. After seeing Ling Zhao's terrifying methods, she still wanted to ease the relationship between the two of them. But now, whenever she thought of Ling Zhao, she would instinctively feel shy. He was the first man who had seen her body. Gentle side? Which man isn't gentle in bed? The pitiful Chu Yang had already completely entered a state of imagination. As Yi Qingqian continued to persuade him, an image actually appeared in front of his eyes. It was Ling Zhao riding on top of Yi Qingqian, wantonly patting her, and the blush on Yi Qingqian's face was the last straw that broke Chu Yang's heart. He believed it. When this proud daughter of the heavens in his eyes woke up this morning, it was definitely not just the sun that shone on her face. Slut! Yi Qingqian, you slut! The more Chu Yang thought about it, the angrier he became. He actually directly scolded Yi Qingqian. The shyness on the latter's face instantly froze. Chu! Brother Chu Yang? You're scolding me? Ever since Chu Yang came up the mountain, he had always played the role of a warm big brother in front of Yi Qingqian. Yi Qingqian had never seen such a ferocious face. Slut! You shameless slut! I will definitely kill Ling Zhao in front of you. Kill him! Chu Yang roared towards the sky, pulling at the chains on his body, making a hua-hua sound. It was as if he had lost all reason. You? Chu Yang, don't be ungrateful. Lord Ling Zhao is not someone you can provoke. I advise you not to ask for trouble. Otherwise, if you implicate the Black Sword sect, my father will not let you off. Yi Qingqian was the daughter of the heavens. Her personality had always been strong and domineering. Now that she heard Chu Yang's insults, how could she tolerate him? Previously, she had some feelings for Chu Yang, but it was far from the point of marrying no one but him. Especially after seeing Ling Zhao's methods, she was really looking forward to the wider world of the Xingzhou. Won't let me off? Good, good, good. I want to see how you won't let me off. Chu Yang roared like a wild beast. The sword intent around him kept surging, causing Yi Qingqian to feel an inexplicable chill in her heart. A lot of his luck had been taken away by Ling Zhao, but he was still the body of the heavens. Therefore, when he swore, there would be a trace of heavenly pressure. Yi Qingqian looked at Chu Yang deeply. In the end, she did not say anything. She turned and walked out of the cave. Chu Yang, as a fellow disciple, I'll give you one last advice. Don't provoke Lord Ling Zhao. As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Qingqian didn't hesitate in the slightest and left in a carefree manner. Bitch! Ling Zhao, I must kill you. Kill you. Take away my opportunity, take away my love. This hatred is irreconcilable. At the same time, on the mountain path under the cliff of reflection, a certain unscrupulous young man suddenly smiled sinisterly. It's here. Yi Qingqian indeed went to Chu Yang's place early in the morning, and with the temper of the child of destiny, he could not stand his woman spending the night with another man. The two of them broke off their relationship, and he received 100 luck points and 1,000 villain points. The child of destiny was arrogant. If it was an ordinary disciple, of course they would choose to forgive. Ling Zhao glanced at the system. Owner, Ling Zhao. Identity, Myriad Dao Demonic Sex Young Master. Divine Physique, Sky Demon True Body, Forbidden Physique. Cultivation, Peak Soul Sea Realm. Spirit Treasure, Demonic Dragon Sacred Armor, Supreme Grade Dao Artifact. Cultivation Technique, Myriad Dao Demonic Art, Sky Demon True Body, Talent, Eye of Nirvana, Talent, Soul Assimilating Ancient Technique, Forbidden Art. Luck Points, 330. Villain Points, 1,000. 170 luck points left. After dealing with that Dark Phoenix, it's about time to close the net. Previously, Ling Zhao also hesitated whether to let go of this child of destiny and let him go down the mountain to search for his own fortune. But after old Yin's investigation yesterday, he already knew that Chu Yang was relying on that Dark Phoenix. Therefore, the probability of him finding the ancient ruins was not high. The person Ling Xiao wanted to find should be a young man who knew the aura divination art. It was a treasure-seeking beast that could find maps and ancient treasures with a stroll. No. It was the child of destiny. I'm still that young man who charged money. Didn't change at all. Ling Xiao whistled and walked towards the top of the mountain. One had to admit that the feeling of charging money was indeed not bad. He could cheat. Chapter 11. Sigh, little Yang, why do you have to do this? I don't dare to use my spiritual power at all now. Otherwise, if I alarm that Ling Xiao... After Yi Qingchan left, Jiu Wan's figure appeared in front of Chu Yang again. How could she not see that Yi Qingchan was still a virgin? This proved that Chu Yang had really misunderstood her just now. You shouldn't have driven her away in anger. You should have at least let her let you out first. It was not that she could not break the 4 chains in front of her, but last night she vaguely felt that she was being spied on. She thought that someone must be secretly monitoring Chu Yang. Ling Xiao had not made a move, most likely because he had some concerns. It was more useful to remain mysterious at this time than to be exposed prematurely. Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao again? Why are you all so afraid of him? Chu Yang completely broke down. He did not even have the usual respect for Jiu Wan. Give me some time, and I will definitely be able to trample him under my feet. Sigh, little Yang, you don't have to go against him. Won't everything still be yours after he leaves? Why do you have to? I want to kill him. Chu Yang glared at Jiu Wan angrily. Her defense of Ling Xiao was like a betrayal in Chu Yang's eyes. It was ridiculous that a mountain boy who had never even left the northern wilderness dared to provoke the most dazzling heaven's pride of Xingzhou just because he had some good fortune. It had to be said that the protagonist's halo was indeed powerful. However, even Chu Yang himself didn't know that most of the luck that belonged to him had already been plundered by Ling Xiao. His heavenly Tao protection was no longer a threat at all. Little Yang, don't be so stubborn. To tell you the truth, even I dare not offend Ling Xiao. You'd better be quiet for the next 2 days, or else what? Hide and leave me alone? Chu Yang was so angry that he laughed. From the moment Jiu Wan did not dare to show herself, he had some doubts that she was just using him. After all, it was not uncommon for the remnant souls of experts to be reborn. It was just that when he awakened Jiu Wan, he had inadvertently signed a bloodline contract with her. In other words, the two of them lived and died together. This was the reason why Chu Yang dared to berate this 9-nether-closure phoenix. Jiu Yi, don't forget that your life and mine are tied together. Do you think I don't know? You're just using me to recover your cultivation. If it weren't for me, this remnant soul of yours would have dissipated long ago. So, from now on, you'd better do as I say. A trace of coldness appeared on Chu Yang's face. Under the continuous attacks of Ling Xiao and Yi Qingchan, this destined child was already showing faint signs of turning into a devil. Jiu Ying stared blankly at the young man before him. Never in her wildest dreams would she have thought that this young man whom she regarded as her successor would actually use the bloodline contract to threaten her. Little Yang, that Ling Xiao, shut up. In the future, don't mention these 2 words in front of me. Otherwise, I don't mind breaking this green jade pendant. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, Chu Yang did not give Jiu Yi a chance to explain. But just as he finished speaking, a round of applause suddenly came from outside the cave. Destined child, your wings have hardened. You even dare to threaten your benefactor who has helped you to this point. Ling Xiao had actually been here for a long time, but he had not shown himself. Under the concealment of his immortal ascension realm divine soul, even Jiu Ying could not detect his aura at all. Ling Xiao! Chu Yang's face instantly turned ferocious. He looked at Ling Xiao with monstrous hatred and deep fear in his eyes. No matter how conceited he was, He knew that he was no match for this Xingzhou young master. He could only endure for now. But Chu Yang suddenly thought of something. Why did Ling Xiao suddenly appear in the cave? With Jiu Ying's cultivation, how could she not sense Ling Xiao's arrival? Moreover, how did he know that it was Jiu Ying who had helped him to this point? He knew that no one in this world, except for himself, knew of Jiu Ying's existence. Then, Chu Yang suddenly turned back. Looking at the grave expression on Jiu Ying's face, he suddenly felt a sense of oppression. Could it be she did it on purpose? Poor Chu Yang. Although he had encountered many dangers along the way, he had the protection of destiny and had never experienced the feeling of being betrayed. But in this short day, he actually lost 2 beloved women in succession. How did you do it? Jiu Ying's grave expression was not feigned. When she was at her peak, she was a powerhouse even more terrifying than an immortal ascension realm. Even if she was seriously injured and died now, her divine soul perception was comparable to an immortal ascension realm. But just now, she actually did not sense Ling Xiao's aura. This was impossible. Even if Ling Xiao came from Xingzhou and had many heaven-defying means, his cultivation was indeed at the soul sea realm. How could he avoid her divine soul perception? Senior Jiuing, I've heard a lot about you. Ling Xiao was dressed in black, natural and unrestrained. He was neither overbearing like in front of Yi Luyun, nor was he submissive like ordinary youths. So you guys knew each other long ago. Pretend. Continue pretending for me. Ling Xiao later, even if I risk self-detonating my divine soul, I'll definitely kill you. Looking at the calmness on the 2 people's faces, Chu Yang's mind already filled in many scenes of them knowing each other. One had to admit that although this son of destiny had great talent and tenacious temperament, he was too sensitive and overconfident. This was called intuition on the protagonist, and it was usually quite accurate. Nonsense, don't let those lousy authors push the plot. But now, Chu Yang had already lost his destiny and was beaten by Ling Xiao until he was almost crazy. He had long lost the ability to judge things. Now, he already did not trust anyone. And all of this was naturally within Ling Xiao's calculations. The reason why he appeared when the 2 people quarreled most fiercely was to give Chu Yang a psychological hint in the first place. Jiu Ying did it on purpose. She deliberately let Ling Xiao in to watch the joke. How could a naive and stubborn native beat a third-rate writer? Therefore, one must never underestimate third-rate writers. Only third-rate writers would study all kinds of tricks when they had nothing to do. Those first-rate and second-rate great gods had long eaten their fill and were slacking off every day. Long heard? This seems to be the first time we've met, right? Jiu Ying's eyebrows were tightly knitted, and there was a hint of wariness on her slightly illusory face. Especially the way Chu Yang was looking at her right now made her feel very uneasy. That's right, when she first woke up, she had inadvertently drunk a drop of blood that Chu Yang had dripped on the jade pendant. The 2 of them signed a contract in a daze. At this moment, she was really afraid that Chu Yang would be impulsive and completely offend Ling Xiao, and lose his life. In fact, she really did not care whether Chu Yang died or not. The 2 of them did have a relationship of using each other, and they had not experienced many life and death situations. If Chu Yang was given a few more years to grow, there might be a few moments that moved this Xingzhou great demon and captured her heart. But now Chu Yang had not. In particular, his threat just now had touched Jiu Ying's bottom line. She was using him, but the techniques and inheritance she gave him were also real. In the end, Chu Yang dared to threaten her. An ant-like human dared to threaten her, a proud 9 heavenly phoenix. At this moment, Jiu Ying was very conflicted, very conflicted. She wanted to borrow Ling Xiao's hand to kill Chu Yang, but once he died, Jiu Ying would also die. Then, her great mission of revenge would completely fail. Chapter 12. Senior Jiu Yi should be from the 9 Nether Phoenix clan, right? I remember that the Dark Phoenix clan followed the saint and went into seclusion. Senior's remnant soul has appeared here. Did something happen? Ling Xiao was extremely calm in the face of Jiu Yi's vigilance. If Jiu Yi's real body was here, he would have to be more cautious. But now, she was just a remnant soul. Ling Xiao could make her disappear with a wave of his hand. However, he was a little hesitant now. Should he use this Dark Phoenix remnant soul to test his new forbidden technique, the ancient soul assimilation technique? Or should he subdue her and keep her by his side? After all, the Dark Phoenix clan's talent was really terrifying. If she could recover her physical body, it would be equivalent to having another great combat power for Ling Xiao. No one in the Xingzhou knew that he had sneaked down this time, except for his mother. If his enemies knew of his whereabouts, they would definitely send people to kill him in the northern wilderness. Ling Xiao had offended many experts over the past few years because of his identity and cultivation. Even in the Universal Demon Sect, there were many people who wanted to kill him. It was not bad to have a 9-nether fire phoenix by his side. Whoever was not convinced, he would be given a death sentence. This was a peerless, ferocious fire that even supreme experts feared. You! Are you really from that clan? Jiu Yi had actually guessed Ling Xiao's identity long ago. She just did not expect that this young man, who looked only 17 or 18 years old, would know the past of the 9-nether clan. There is another Ling clan in the Xingzhou? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and looked at Chu Yang calmly. This son of destiny was no longer as dazzling as before. Instead, he exuded a sinister aura. Compared to him, Ling Xiao was more like a righteous heaven's pride. So you are really from the ancient Ling clan. But this is my own business. It has nothing to do with you. Jiu Yi naturally did not believe Ling Xiao and would not tell him about her background. Since young Master Ling is from the Xingzhou, why make things difficult for an ant? Why don't you show mercy and leave? And Chu Yang was stunned for a long while before he realized that Jiu Yi was referring to him as an ant. Ants? So in your eyes, I'm just an ant. If it had been in the past, Chu Yang would definitely have understood that Jiu Ying had only said this to elevate Ling Xiao and thus save his life. However, at this moment, he had already lost his rationality. All those who slandered him deserved to die. I can understand why you don't want to say more. After all, the people of the sacred sect are cruel and ruthless. However, since you're unwilling to enter the cycle of reincarnation, you must want to return to the Xingzhou continent. Do you think you still have a chance with such a trash? Ling Xiao nodded and cast a disdainful glance at Chu Yang. Ling Xiao. Chu Yang let out a low growl. It was one thing for this bastard to snatch away his woman, but now he actually wanted to snatch away his fortune. Yi Qingchan was a good match in Chu Yang's eyes, but Jimin was his reverse scale. Without her, Chu Yang would be nothing. What? Did I say something wrong? You can't even withstand one strand of my aura, so how can you help her fight against the saint? Ling Xiao carefully observed the expression on Zhu Yun's face. Although it was a little vague, when he mentioned the saint, the aura on Jimin Feng's body did fluctuate violently. This meant that her death had something to do with the saint's sect. Generally, in the Xingzhou continent, no one dared to slander the saint. However, Ling Xiao was different. He had a taboo physique, and sooner or later, he would be on the opposite side of the saint. Therefore, he was unscrupulous. Aren't you afraid that I'll spread what you're saying? By then, even the ancient Ling family won't be able to withstand the wrath of the saint, right? Jiu Yun was still probing Ling Xiao, but her attitude was no longer as firm as before. Chu Yang naturally felt this as well. His complexion instantly turned ashen. However, he believed that Jiu Yun would not let him die. Because if that happened, she would also die. How could she take revenge then? Chu Yang had long known that there was a terrifying saint in the Xingzhou continent. At the same time, it was the enemy of Jiu Yun's clan. He had once declared that he would avenge Jiu Yun sooner or later. However, now that she was faced with a better choice, Jiu Yun was really hesitant. In particular, Chu Yang's performance today was really disappointing. Therefore, she was thinking that if Ling Xiao really had a grudge against the saint, could she make use of the Ling family to achieve her goal? Haha, everyone knows about the hypocrisy of the saint's sect. What's there to avoid? However, Senior's current demonic and ghostly appearance is really worrying. Ling Xiao's calmness came from the fact that he was firmly in control of the situation. If Ming Feng was stubborn, she would only end up as his nourishment. The soul assimilation ancient technique could control one's mind, but it could also devour souls to increase one's cultivation. This was the reason for the so-called taboo technique. Beep, Ming Feng's mind wavered. Congratulations to the host for plundering 50 luck points and 500 villain points from the Son of Destiny. It was indeed useful. Ling Xiao's lips unconsciously curled into a smile. There was no such thing as absolute loyalty in this world. The so-called loyalty was only because the bargaining chips for betrayal were not enough. It was time to make a big move. Ling Xiao took out an elixir and threw it at Jiu Yun. This is a 4th grade soul consolidating elixir. It can increase one's soul power. Senior, you must be tired after coming out for so long. You can take it first and we can talk later. 4th grade soul consolidating elixir? Jiu Yun's eyes immediately lit up, and the hand holding the soul consolidating elixir trembled. In the 4 wastelands, 4th grade elixirs were considered top-notch and were rarely seen. Even in the Xingzhou, the spiritual materials needed to refine a 4th grade elixir were extremely precious. Therefore, once a 4th grade elixir appeared in an auction house, it would inevitably attract countless forces to fight for it. She did not expect Ling Xiao to be so sincere. She had not even expressed her opinion, and he had already given her such a big gift. This is not good, however. She did not dare to show too much eagerness in front of him. After all, if that guy chose to die together with her, she would be the first to die. What's not good about this? As long as Senior is willing to follow me, when we return to the Xingzhou, I will find someone to refine a 5th grade body amassing elixir for Senior to help reconstruct your body. Ling Xiao was not bragging. His father was the head of the ancient clan's Ling family, and his mother was the master of the Xingzhou's #1 pill sect, the Danyuan sacred ground. He was a proper rich 2nd generation, a proper villain. Therefore, Ling Xiao had never encountered any setbacks since he was young. Wherever he went, he always acted like he was the king of the world. Although a 5th grade elixir was precious, as long as Ling Xiao asked for it, his mother would definitely bring him a bunch for him to choose from. In exchange for the allegiance of a Jiu Yun phoenix, it was a good deal. 5th grade elixir? Reconstruct my body? Sure enough, when Jiu Yun heard the words, reconstruct my body, even his voice changed. The aura around him showed signs of collapsing due to his excitement. Chapter 13. Senior, don't be agitated. These are trivial matters. You should take the soul-consolidating elixir first to stabilize your remnant soul. Ling Xiao smiled from the bottom of his heart, because the system's prompt sounded in his mind again. The feeling of plundering others' luck bit by bit was really quite satisfying. Ling Xiao had already decided that he would resolutely walk down this path. Wouldn't it be satisfying to keep plundering? Jiu Yi. Chu Yang's voice seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. He stared at the elixir in Jiu Yi's hand, his eyes completely bloodshot. This damned Ling Xiao, how dare he steal from him right in front of him? He hated him. What was the use of hating him? He couldn't beat him, and now even Jiu Yi was showing signs of betraying him. Chu Yang suddenly panicked. His madness just now was because he didn't feel threatened and thought that Jiu Yi could solve all his problems. But now that he had calmed down a little, he realized that the young man in front of him could really make him lose everything. Fortunately, he still had the bloodline contract. Senior, what other concerns do you have? You should know what the force behind me represents. As long as you are willing to follow me, I promise to restore you to your peak state as soon as possible. Ling Zhao's tone was calm throughout, but his attitude was sincere. Whether it was the 5th grade elixir or the reconstruction of the physical body, it was an irresistible temptation for Jiu Yi. The reason why she hesitated was not because she couldn't bear to part with Chu Yang, but because of the contract between the two. She wasn't worried that Ling Xiao couldn't tolerate Chu Yang. After all, from the current situation, this young master of the Ling clan was very magnanimous. And from the beginning to the end, he didn't deliberately target Chu Yang. Instead, it was the latter who kept provoking him. Of course, Jiu Yi could understand. The life and death of an ant had nothing to do with Ling Zhao's pain. He probably didn't kill Chu Yang because he didn't want to offend her. To be honest, Jiu Yi was still a little touched. In fact, she really thought too highly of herself. What Ling Xiao cared about was the luck points on Chu Yang and the killing mission. As for whether Jiu Yi would submit or not, it was just an additional reward. Thank you for your kindness, young master, but I still can't accept it. Jiu Yi sighed guiltily and returned the elixir to Ling Xiao. At this moment, her heart was also bleeding. But she couldn't tell Ling Xiao in front of him that she had a contract with Chu Yang, and that she couldn't leave the green jade pendant for the time being, could she? Humph. Ling Xiao, do you think everyone is as gullible as Yi Qin-chan? Chu Yang sneered. There was a complacent look on his face. However, the gloominess in his eyes didn't dissipate much. Young master? This slut actually called him young master? Good. Since all of you are so shameless, just wait until I become stronger in the future. See how I'll kill all of you. Oh, senior, are you afraid that Chu Yang will perish together with you? Is there a bloodline contract between the two of you? However, what Chu Yang and Jiu Yi did not expect was that Ling Xiao seemed to have the ability to predict the future. He immediately guessed what she was worried about. Of course, even Chu Yang could tell that Jiu Yi was obviously tempted. However, she still looked so righteous at this moment. Most likely, she had her concerns. Dripping blood to recognize a master and inadvertently awakening an old grandpa. This was really nothing new. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and knew what was going on. This was like a woman in a brothel. Although she said she didn't want to, she still worked extra hard in bed. It wasn't that she didn't want someone to redeem her, but she was afraid that the brothel would deal with her behind her back. It's okay. I just want to know what you really think. Ling Zhao's expression suddenly became very serious. He had 10,000 ways to help Jiu Yi get rid of a mere bloodline contract. However, he needed Jiu Yi's attitude. Jiu Ying had naturally guessed this as well. Although she didn't know what methods this Lord Ling Xiao had, she planned to take a gamble at this moment. She had to take revenge for the extermination of her clan. If Chu Yang trusted her, she wouldn't be too heartless. However, today, he had threatened her with the bloodline contract more than once. She was afraid that there would be estrangement between the two of them in the future. In this case, she might as well find a new master. The Ling Xiao in front of her was decisive and generous, sincere and strong and handsome. Jiu Yi really couldn't find a reason to reject him. Of course, these were all secondary. The most important thing was that the fortune that Ling Xiao promised her was really too tempting. Therefore, it wasn't that there were too many scumbags in this world, but that some people were not good enough. She could choose not to drive a Ferrari or ride a bicycle, but she had to wear our Peppa Pig on her wrist. No, it was Patek Philippe. Jiu Yi, you have to think carefully. Don't fall into his trap of sowing discord. Chu Yang roared at Jiu Yi, almost roaring. With his experience, of course, he didn't know what Ling Zhao's identity meant. The more he shouted at this moment, the more Jiu Yi felt embarrassed. However, no one wanted to die until the last moment. Chu Yang was still waiting for his 30-year journey to crush Ling Xiao. How could he be willing to die in this narrow cave? Sowing discord? Jiu Yi smiled. She looked at the resentment in Chu Yang's eyes and smiled very gently. Little Yang, do you remember the first time we met? At that time, you were bullied and despised. You hid on the mountain and cried alone. As the saying went, once a person started to recall, he was either drunk or angry. Ling Xiao looked at the two people in front of him with interest. He was already thinking about how to explain to Yi Qinchan after he killed Chu Yang. After all, the two had some feelings for each other. Even if Yi Qinchan was disappointed in Chu Yang now, once he killed the former, Yi Qinchan would definitely not be able to accept it. Jiui. Yu Chu Yang was very uneasy. In his memory, this was the first time he saw Jiu Yi looking at him so gently. I don't think I have done anything wrong to you, but today, you have threatened me repeatedly with the bloodline contract. This really makes me very disappointed. Jiu Yi sighed and turned to look at Ling Xiao. Lord Ling Xiao, I am willing to follow you. Boom! Chu Yang was stunned. Suddenly, his vision turned black, and he felt that the whole world had collapsed in an instant. The person he trusted the most, who was even closer to him than his parents, had betrayed him in the end. Ha 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 ha, good. Since you forced me, we will die together. Ling Xiao, don't think that you have one. You will never have her. Chu Yang laughed wildly. There was only resentment left in his eyes. He took out the jade pendant around his neck and waved it at Jiu Yi. Bitch, you want to follow him? Dream on. After saying that, he suddenly clenched his fist, and the jade pendant instantly shattered into powder on the ground. Now die with me! Chapter 14. Ling Xiao looked at Chu Yang, who was in a frenzy, with a playful smile on his face. Jiu Yi had already closed her eyes in despair. She believed that Ling Xiao would not leave her alone, but that bloodline contract was really terrifying. Even if she was at her peak, it would be difficult for her to struggle. She did not know if Ling Xiao could undo it, so she was prepared for the worst. Lord Ling Xiao, if I die, I hope you can destroy the holy sect and avenge my clan. Beep, the child of destiny has been betrayed by his friends and family. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 120 luck points and 1200 villain points. A killing mission has been initiated. Killing the child of destiny will grant additional rewards. It's coming. Ling Xiao grinned, and there was an inexplicable look in his eyes. Revenge for the extermination of the clan? Sure enough, the Ming Feng clan was exterminated by the holy sect. This group of hypocrites seemed to have no desires, but once people and forces that threatened their rule appeared, they would not be able to escape the fate of death. You won't die. Just as Jiu Yi felt the soul power in her body gradually dissipating, a calm and gentle voice suddenly sounded in her ears. Then, Chu Yang's desperate scream suddenly rang out. Jiu Yi opened her eyes in surprise, only to see Ling Xiao holding Chu Yang's neck and pulling him in front of him. She did not see what Ling Xiao did because his back was facing her. But she could see Chu Yang's horrified and distorted face and his eyes full of regret. Spare me. Chu Yang's voice sounded like he was panting, full of depression. In the face of death, this child of destiny finally understood. There were some people he could not afford to offend. It's too late. Ling Xiao shook his head with a gentle smile on his face. Deep in his eyes there seemed to be a flash of light. Then, the expression on Chu Yang's face completely froze. At the same time, the aura on Ling Xiao's body fluctuated. Although it was very obscure, it was a little stronger than before. All right, from today onwards, you are free. Ling Xiao casually threw Chu Yang's cold corpse to the side of the cave and turned to look at Jiu Ming with a smile. Young master, take the pill first, then come here to rest for a few days. Ling Xiao pointed at the jade ring on his finger. This is the soul-nurturing jade? Jiu Ying's face was once again filled with shock. Even in the Xingzhou continent, the soul-nurturing jade was a rarely seen treasure. It could nourish one's spirit and protect one from evil beings. He didn't expect that Lord Ling Xiao had already found a place for him to go. Jiu Yi bowed respectfully to Ling Xiao. "Thank you, young master." In the past, when she followed Chu Yang, she was completely like a nanny. Chu Yang always relied on her for everything. But now, following by Ling Xiao's side, she actually felt a rare sense of security. "Take it quickly." Ling Xiao tossed the medicinal pill over. Jiu Ming didn't act pretentious and directly popped the soul-condensing pill into his mouth. Buzz! A layer of ripples appeared in the space. A wisp of black flame suddenly bloomed on Jiu Ming's body, and then her entire soul became extremely solid. Black clothes, black hair, and a picturesque fairy-like appearance. An impressive figure coupled with a pair of straight and slender legs. Ling Xiao had to admit that he was tempted again. Compared to Yi Qingchan, Jiu Ming even had the unique charm of the demon race. Especially that pair of black eyes, which seemed to be burning with flames, revealing a wild and proud nature. Just a remnant soul had such charm. To be honest, Ling Xiao wanted to help her recover her physical body as soon as possible. He really didn't expect Jiu Ming, who he had casually subdued, to be so beautiful. What a steal! Beep, congratulations to the host for obtaining a kill reward package. Do you want to open it now? Open it! But before Ling Xiao could admire it for too long, the system's exciting notification sounded again. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a divine-grade escape talisman, an ancient Pangu stone, and 3,000 villain points. Divine-grade escape talisman? Pangu stone? Ling Xiao was stunned. He didn't care about the villain points. After all, there were ways to obtain them. But this escape talisman was a good thing. It was equivalent to having an extra life-saving means. As for the Pangu stone system, what is the use of the Pangu stone? Fusing with the Pangu stone can open up a divine soul space to resist any divine soul attack. So awesome! Ling Xiao was instantly stunned. Although his cultivation was powerful and his divine soul was comparable to an immortal ascension cultivator, there were countless powerhouses in the Xingzhou. His enemies weren't just the younger generation. Once he encountered a mighty figure above the immortal ascension realm, he would be easily suppressed by the divine soul and would not even have a chance to escape. But with this Pangu stone, he could resist any divine soul interference and have a chance to fight back. Fuse. Ling Xiao couldn't wait to fuse with the Pangu stone. In an instant, he felt a wisp of soul power floating through his divine soul. Then, Dao sounds sounded, and a green lotus seemed to bloom in his divine soul. An incomparably majestic mystical palace gradually took shape and directly shrouded his entire divine soul. The palace was pitch black, and the runes on it were destroyed, giving off a feeling of indestructible invincibility. This is the ancient Pangu stone. It is indeed terrifying. Ling Xiao sighed inwardly. At that moment, he could feel that his divine soul was faintly showing signs of breaking through to the immortal ascension realm. Originally, he was a villain who could not live past 5 chapters. Now, he was gradually gaining the qualifications to compete with this world. Young master? Jiu Wan's voice came from the side and pulled Ling Xiao's consciousness back from his divine soul. At that moment, she also felt the change in Ling Xiao's aura, but she couldn't tell what the change was. In short, she felt that her young master seemed to have become stronger again. It was too terrifying. This was a prodigy from the ancient clan. No wonder the Ling family could stand tall in the Xingzhou for thousands of years. Judging from Ling Xiao's talent, a new supremacy would appear in the Xingzhou in a few years, right? She just didn't know how the holy sect would deal with him this time. At that moment, Jiu Wan finally understood why the young man in front of her was not afraid of the holy sect. He indeed had enough capital. Oh, you've finished the fusion? Then you should go cultivate in the soul-nurturing jade first. Don't come out for the time being. I'll tell you when we return to the Xingzhou. Ling Xiao glanced at Jiu Wan again, and felt that the name Jiuwan really couldn't highlight her beauty. After a slight hesitation, he opened his mouth and said, "Is the name Jiuwan your real name?" "No, young master. I just casually called it that." Jiuwan seemed to be stunned for a moment, then shook her head and smiled bitterly. "A part of my memory has been erased, and I have temporarily forgotten my background." "Your memory has been erased? Those bastards of the holy sect really do things flawlessly." Jiuwan was lucky enough to leave a remnant soul in the hands of the holy sect. As for the memory, he could only think of a way later. "Oh, then do you mind changing your name?" "I'll listen to your instructions." Since she had chosen to follow Ling Xiao, Jiuwan's attitude was extremely humble. In fact, according to the age of the human clan, she was only in her early 20s, so her mind wasn't as mature as it seemed on the surface. "Okay, then you'll be called Jiu Yu from now on." Ling Xiao suddenly smiled strangely, making Jiuwan a little nervous. Jiu Yu? She originally thought that her young master would give her a nice-sounding name. What was the difference between Jiu Yu and Jiuwan? "Yes, Jiu Yu, a woman I once loved deeply." Ling Xiao looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, his eyes revealing a vicissitude that didn't match his age. Chapter 15. Deeply, deeply loved woman? Nine Nether was stunned. She didn't know that the woman Ling Xiao loved deeply was just a character in a novel. She felt her heartbeat accelerate and her face turn red. She wished she could hide in the soul-nurturing jade right now. Young master gave me the name of the woman he loved deeply. Could it be that, at this moment, Nine Nether was no longer as cold and aloof as she was in front of Chu Yang? She looked just like a girl next door. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the admiration of Ming Feng's remnant soul. Luck increased by 50 points. What the hell? That works too? Ling Xiao looked at Nine Nether's blurred eyes in a daze. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Once this woman's imagination starts to fill in the gaps, it's really scary. However, it could be seen that Nine Nether's original body was also a person with luck. Otherwise, she wouldn't have triggered the system reward. Young master, Chu Yang's corpse. Nine Nether suddenly looked at Chu Yang dejectedly. Her eyes were filled with guilt. Although everything that happened today was his own fault, the two of them had been together for a long time. Seeing him die in such a cold and dark cave, Nine Nether was still a little sad. "Deal with it as you see fit." Ling Xiao was magnanimous. He turned and left. Soon, he felt a heart-palpitating heat coming from the cave behind him. Nine Nether's figure also entered the soul-nurturing jade and didn't say anything else. "It's about time to leave Black Sword Sect." Ling Xiao frowned. He took one last look at the cave behind him and walked down the mountain. He came down from the Xingzhou without telling his clan. The longer he stayed, the more dangerous it would be. Moreover, in the 5 regions, only experts who had reached the Paong realm could break through the space barrier and enter the Xingzhou. No one from the Xingzhou would take the initiative to come down. It had to be done. It was strictly forbidden by the sacred sect. Who would want to provoke the sacred sect? However, this time, Ling Xiao had taken such a huge risk to descend to the lower realm because of the summons in his mind. He could feel that in the northern wilderness, there seemed to be something connected to his bloodline calling out to him. Ling Xiao, this voice was very strange and terrifying, but for it to travel through the realms, one could imagine how powerful it was. However, the more terrifying a creation was, the harder it was to find it. Ling Xiao was not the child of destiny. Even if he had plundered fate, he did not have the protagonist aura. Therefore, it was very difficult for him to find it on his own. Originally, he had hoped that Chu Yang could transform into a treasure-hunting beast and help him find the secret realm. However, Ling Xiao had already seen the end of the road that Chu Yang wanted to take. So, he died. The most important thing right now was to leave the Xianjian sect and look for the next son of heaven. It would be best if he could use the Qi observation technique or see through things. Lord Ling Xiao? Yi Qingchan's surprised voice suddenly came from afar. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at her with a cold expression. He still hadn't figured out how to tell Yi Qingchan about Chu Yang. From the looks of it, she should be heading towards the cliff of reflection. It seemed like she was still unwilling to give up. Young master, did you come down from the cliff of reflection? Yi Qingchan looked at Ling Xiao warily. Although Chu Yang's words just now were a little overboard, Yi Qingchan still felt that he should be released after thinking about it. The two of them had met because Chu Yang had risked his life to save her life. Yi Qingchan had never forgotten this kindness. That's right. Ling Xiao looked coldly at Yi Qingchan and walked past her. If he hadn't figured out how to say it, then he wouldn't say it. Anyway, Chu Yang's body had already been burned clean by Yi Qingchan. Even if Yi Qingchan asked, he could just say that he didn't know. Moreover, why would he need to explain to others when he killed someone? If not for the fact that Yi Qingchan's fate was rising too quickly, Ling Xiao wouldn't care about the feelings of a barbaric woman. Young master, how could Yi Qingchan not see the coldness in Ling Xiao's eyes? At this moment, she felt inexplicably flustered. Actually, after returning from the cliff of reflection this morning, she had already figured out what she wanted. Chu Yang had given her some happiness, but Ling Xiao could give her a different immortal path. Although this Xingzhou young master was eccentric and hard to grasp. Yesterday in the rear palace, she was indeed a little touched. Therefore, Yi Qingchan had returned to repay Chu Yang's kindness and draw a clear line between them. But she didn't expect to meet Lord Ling Xiao. Moreover, from the looks of it, he seemed to be angry. Yi Qingchan couldn't help but smile. Then, she quickly walked to Ling Xiao's side and blocked his path. Young master, what's the matter? Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. Young master, I want to stay by your side. Even if it's as a maid, it's fine. Yi Qingchan lowered her head. Her voice was very soft. She didn't dare to look at Ling Xiao because she felt that Lord Ling Xiao's eyes could make people fall. Have you thought it through? Actually, the Xingzhou isn't as beautiful as you think. The competition there is crueler, and the people are more vicious. Ling Xiao's words were not alarmist. But on the path of cultivation, there was mutual deception everywhere. The world was only so big. Everyone wanted to fight for a share of fate, a share of fate. How could there be no conflict? I'm not afraid. I just want to stay by young master's side. Yi Qingchan shook her head and looked at Ling Xiao expectantly. The next moment, Lord Ling Xiao, who had always been cold and emotionless, suddenly showed a gentle smile. Since you said so, then stay by my side in the future. Don't worry, with me here, no matter where you are, no one will bully you. With that, Ling Xiao suddenly reached out and gently pulled Yi Qingchan into his arms. However, there was a sinister smile on his face. What a joke. Only the protagonist would play with his heart. As a villain, of course, he only wanted to take advantage of Yi Qingchan. Yi Qingchan's delicate body froze. She could feel how hard Ling Xiao hugged her arm. She never dreamed that the young master of the Xingzhou, who was high and mighty just now, would say such warm words. Her heart was suddenly in a mess. Although she understood that Lord Ling Xiao's warmth was not only for her alone. However, to be in his heart, Yi Qingchan felt satisfied. Ah, so big, so soft. At this moment, less than 100 miles away from the Xianjian sect, countless rainbow lights flashed across the sky. Many figures with strong auras surrounded them from all directions. The Xianjian sect's fate was over. This news had spread like wildfire in the northern wilderness for the past few days. Facing a down-and-out Xianjian sect, the surrounding major sects naturally wanted to come and take a share. Ah, isn't this the Donghua sect master? A few figures stood in the sky with their hands behind their back. Among them, a lord of a dynasty wearing a golden robe sneered. There seemed to be a dragon's roar behind him. He was called Chu Batian, the lord of the Sky Tyrant Empire. His cultivation was strong, and it was said that his bloodline was inherited from the Xingzhou True Dragon. Haha, so it's King Chu. Why, is King Chu also here to take a share today? The Donghua sect master, Dong Yudao, looked at Chu Batian with a gloomy expression. His tone was obviously angry. Although both of them were in the Soul Sea realm, Chu Batian's combat power was the highest in the same realm. When they split the loot later, he would definitely take the initiative. Chapter 16. I just heard that my nephew Chu Yang was humiliated in the Xianjian sect, so I came to seek justice for him and bring him down the mountain. Chu Batian snorted coldly, revealing the might of an emperor. Your nephew Chu Yang? Upon hearing this, the group of sect leaders and family leaders immediately burst into laughter. Everyone knew that Chu Yang was born poor. When did he become Chu Batian's nephew? However, no one exposed him at this moment. Everyone had the same idea. As for who would succeed in the end, it would depend on their own abilities. King Chu, that Xianjian sect's Grand Elder, has not appeared for 10 years. I'm afraid he's most likely dead. However, for safety's sake, if anything happens later, you'll still have to hold him back. The group of sect leaders gathered together and began to discuss countermeasures. Why should it be me? We old bones are not as valiant as King Chu. Besides, since Chu Yang is your nephew, shouldn't you stand up for him? That's right. Isn't it normal for uncle to come out after hitting his nephew? King Chu felt a little aggrieved. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have said anything. Wouldn't it have been better to just quietly snatch the fortune? Why did he have to act tough and then be forced to do it? I heard that a young expert came from the Xianjian sect and crushed Chu Yang with a thought that day. Tisk, do you believe it? If there really was such a genius in the northern wilderness, how could we not know? I think Yi Luyun said it on purpose to scare people. Tisk. This old thing is quite whimsical. Let's go. Since everyone is here, let's go. Pay a visit to that young genius? At this time, in the main hall of the Xianjian sect. Sect leader, this is bad. A disciple guarding the mountain rushed into the hall in a panic and kneeled in front of Yi Luyun. What scared you like this? Yi Luyun frowned, holding a small sword and trimming his fingernails. He had already heard that his daughter Yi Qingchan had broken through last night. Even the hidden injuries on his body had been cured by the Lord Ling Xiao. From the looks of it, their relationship should be progressing smoothly. In the past 100 years that Yi Luyun had been the Xianjian sect leader, he had never been as relaxed as he was now. Clan leader, this is bad. The Donghua clan, the Beast Trainer clan, the Sky Tyrant dynasty, and the Yin family of the Ancient clan are here. The disciple's face was pale and his eyes were dim. Although their Xianjian sect was once the #1 sect in this land, but now it was different from the past. Who didn't know that the Xianjian sect was on the decline and was already at the end of its rope? With the joint forces of the northern wasteland's major sects and dynasties, the Xianjian sect was in danger. They're fighting. But what stunned that disciple was that when Yi Luyun heard this, not only was there not a trace of worry on his face, he even cracked a smile. F***ck. Was the sect master scared silly? Good timing. My Xianjian sect has already been dormant for decades, and many people have already forgotten the name of our #1 sect. Yi Luyun stood up and glanced at the people in the hall. Xiao Gu, have you seen Lord Ling Xiao? Sect master, a disciple passed by the Cliff of Reflection just now and saw Lord Ling Xiao and young lady Qingchan. That? Yi Luyun's eyes widened, but the corners of his mouth unconsciously curled into a smile. This precious daughter indeed did not disappoint me. She took down Lord Ling Xiao so quickly. Congratulations to sect master for finding a good son-in-law. Without young lady Qingchan, my Xianjian sect would be in danger this time. It's still sect master who has foresight, not hesitating to offend Chu Yang to have a good relationship with Lord Ling Xiao. This bunch of old things are probably going to bring disgrace upon themselves this time. Many elders opened their mouths one after another, flattering. Their faces similarly did not have the slightest hint of panic. What a joke! Who was Lord Ling Xiao? A young master who came down from the Xingzhou to train, just based on this identity, who in the northern wasteland dared to touch a single finger of his. Moreover, sect master Yi Luyun also said that Lord Ling Xiao's cultivation was even above his. Yesterday, he broke through repeatedly again. Now that they had reached such a terrifying state, they simply did not dare to make wild guesses. And those rotten fishes and shrimps at the bottom of the mountain, the highest cultivation was only at the late-stage Soul Sea realm. How could they be a match for Lord Ling Xiao? Xiao Ge, go to the reflection cliff and wait. Wait for Lord Ling Xiao and young lady, that's over, invite him to the main hall. Yi Luyun waved his hand. Green light overflowed from his eyes as he took the lead and walked out of the hall. Everyone, follow me to welcome the esteemed guest? Damn it, I haven't unsheathed my sword for a long time. Taking advantage of the fact that I have Lord Ling Xiao's support, I must properly teach those few who are usually the happiest a lesson today. Alright. Below the reflection cliff, Ling Xiao let go of Yi Qingqian. Looking at the blush on her face, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. This reflection cliff was indeed a good place. Many children of destiny met their true love or had fortuitous encounters here. Poor Chu Yang, who was supposed to be the main character of the story, provoked Ling Xiao, a great villain who knew how to scheme. Young master, is the Xingzhou really like the rumors, with countless experts? Since young, Yi Qingqian liked to flip through the ancient books in the sect and knew some secrets of the Xingzhou. It was rumored that even a dog's cultivation far surpassed the Four Desolate. Originally, Yi Qingqian did not believe it, but ever since she saw Ling Xiao, she was somewhat shaken. There are many experts, but not everyone is strong. Generally, the successors of ancient lands, sacred sects, and immortal dynasties are slightly stronger. As for those who walked up from the Four Desolates, their juniors' talents are relatively mediocre. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Actually, there was really no need for the people of the Four Desolates to yearn for the Xingzhou. Here, Soul Sea realm experts were overlords of a region. The strongest were only at the profound clear realm, enjoying the worship of the people. But in the Xingzhou, profound clear realm experts were not even considered servants of aristocratic families. Why must they humiliate themselves? Of course, being happy was the most important thing when one was alive. Then when I go to the Xingzhou with young master in the future, Yi Qingqian was clearly somewhat worried. She discovered that after deciding to follow Ling Xiao, her mental state underwent a change. In the past, when she looked at this young master in front of her, she would have fear and resistance. But now she actually wanted to obtain his protection and doting. As the daughter of mystic sword sect master, Yi Qingqian's personality was arrogant to begin with. She also saw many northern desolates' heaven's prides normally. But there had never been anyone who could make her take the initiative to lower her head and want to rely on. And Lord Ling Xiao, disregarding other things, just the aura of who else but me on his body made people's hearts move very much. Since ancient times, pampered girls loved overlords. This was understandable. But overlords loved to force themselves on others. Therefore, the story of overlords and pampered girls was generally sorrowful. Undeniably, Yi Qingqian was indeed very smart. Even now, she also understood that it was impossible for Ling Xiao to fall in love with her. But as long as she could follow him into the Xingzhou, to Yi Qingqian, it was worth it. At the very least, Mystic Sword Sect would definitely not be threatened by others in the future. That also needs to be discussed in the future. Ling Xiao smiled very meaningfully. Chapter 17. If Yi Qingchan was just an ordinary prodigy from the northern wilderness, Ling Xiao would not be attracted to her. However, he sensed something unusual about Yi Qingchan. If she was really a reincarnated almighty, she would definitely regain her memories and regain her cultivation in the future. It was like winning a lottery ticket. Ling Xiao admitted that he was gambling. However, if Yi Qingchan really awakened and became a supreme being, then he would have profited greatly. The main character met a girl by chance, and under the premise of not knowing her identity and background, he took care of her in every possible way to win her heart. In the end, didn't she grow into his strongest support? Ling Xiao did not intend to rely on anyone, but having a strong follower would be beneficial to his future cultivation. I'll follow you anyway. You have to protect me. After Yi Qingchan let down her guard, she suddenly looked like a little girl. Then from now on, all my enemies will be your enemies, including Chu Yang, Ling Xiao said tentatively. Yi Qingchan would know about Chu Yang's death sooner or later. He did not want the proud girl that he had worked so hard to fool to turn against him because of a knot in her heart. After all, he was the villain. Ling Xiao reminded himself of this point all the time. Don't worry, young master. I've thought it through. From now on, I'll be your woman. Yi Qingchan lowered her head shyly. If Chu Yang was still alive and saw the proud goddess in his eyes reveal such an expression and say such words, Ling Xiao would probably not have to do anything. He would be angered to death. That was why men had to know how to act cool. Since ancient times, this was the way to win people's hearts. What heavenly halo! What peerless talent! They were worthless in the face of acting cool. Being mocked and despised every day would only make you feel good for a moment. Wouldn't it be good to keep acting cool? Chu Yang is dead. I killed him. Ling Xiao felt that the time was right. If Yi Qingchan still had feelings for Chu Yang, he should also consider what to do with her after returning to Xingzhou. It was definitely dangerous to keep someone who hated you by your side. As long as Yi Qingchan dared to show any signs of disloyalty, Ling Xiao would not hesitate to use the ancient soul assimilation technique on her. Being protective of the fairer sex was something that the chosen one and a lapdog should do. He was a villain, so of course he didn't have that many concerns. Dead? Yi Qingchan's beautiful eyes widened and her expression stiffened. To Ling Xiao, this was a normal reaction. If she really appeared too calm, it would prove that she had a guilty conscience. Chu Yang saved my life once. I originally planned to let him go and return this favor. However, he was disrespectful to young master. I have already thought of the consequences. Then, Yi Qingchan sighed softly with a hint of bitterness in her voice. With her intelligence, she naturally thought that Ling Xiao was testing her. Fortunately, she had already expressed her feelings before. Otherwise, with this young master's methods, he might not let her go. This Lord Ling Xiao was indeed unpredictable. You would never know which of his words were true and which were false. But the more it was like this, the more mysterious and interesting Yi Qingchan found him. Young master, Xiao Ji's low voice came from the forest in the distance. Ling Xiao and Yi Qingchan turned to look. Seeing the crafty look in Xiao Ji's eyes, Yi Qingchan blushed and felt shy. Actually, Ling Xiao already knew that Xiao Guo had come. He hid behind the forest not to peep. Even if he had 100 guts, he wouldn't dare. He probably didn't want to disturb him. At the same time, Ling Xiao also knew that Xianjian sect was in trouble. On the first day he arrived here, he discovered the old thing hiding in the back mountain of the Xianjian sect. Originally, Ling Xiao wanted to find the person with the highest cultivation in the northern wasteland to inquire about information. Who would have thought that the old man would actually say that he hadn't been out for decades? Ling Xiao was furious and wanted to slap him to death, but in the end, Yi Luyun arrived in time and flattered him in every possible way. He even promised to introduce his daughter to him, without the slightest bit of arrogance as a sect leader. Villains. Of course, what he liked to hear the most was the flattery of a licking dog. Ling Xiao was happy, and directly rewarded the old man who was in seclusion and Yi Luyun with a pill each. This time, Yi Luyun even called him a benefactor, just short of calling him father. So, who said that a licking dog had nothing? You just didn't lick the right person. As for the danger that the Xianjian sect was facing, Ling Xiao had long since guessed it. The patriarch had been in seclusion for decades, so it would be strange if he wasn't targeted. This was like a beautiful little girl. What would happen if her partner worked outside for 10 years and didn't come home? Of course he would forgive her. Xiao Gu. Ling Xiao's face returned to its usual coldness. In front of these little extras, he still had to control his temperament. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any deterrence. Young master, are you done? Ever since Xiao Gu had broken through, he had been prostrating himself in front of Ling Xiao, and was even closer to him than his own father. What's the matter? Young master. There's a fight at the foot of the mountain. The sect leader invited you over. Xiao Gu secretly glanced at Yi Qinchan. At this moment, her face was rosy and her expression was bright and beautiful. The #1 beauty of the northern wasteland was well deserved. He was hiding in the forest, so of course he saw the intimacy between the two of them. However, Xiao Gu was not envious of Ling Xiao at all. Instead, he was envious of Yi Qinchan. He hated it. If only he were a woman, he would be able to stay by the young master's side every day. When the young master was happy, he could casually reward him with a pill that was equivalent to decades of bitter cultivation. Oh, I got it. You can go down. Ling Xiao nodded his head calmly, and Xiao Gu did not dare to stay for even a moment as he jogged all the way down. Looks like the Xianjian sect is in trouble. The reason why Ling Xiao did not go over immediately was because he knew that the Xianjian sect's ancestor was not dead. An old ghost at the peak of the Soul Sea realm, after eating the pill that he rewarded, even if his cultivation did not break through, he would definitely become even stronger. Therefore, this so-called calamity was not dangerous at all. Moreover, the villains had always been the last to appear. Otherwise, how could they shine? Yi Qinchan was not in a hurry, so what was he in a hurry for? Young master, don't you plan to go over and take a look? Do you think I should go and take a look? Ling Xiao did not answer. Instead, he asked Yi Qinchan a question. It's all up to the young master. Yi Qinchan bit her red lips. She was clearly a little anxious. However, she really could not guess the thoughts of the young master in front of her. How could she dare to make a decision for him? Look at how scared you are. With me here, I won't let anyone harm the Xianjian sect. Ling Xiao's face suddenly bloomed with a hint of brilliance. He reached out and pinched Yi Qinchan's pretty nose, then walked towards the foot of the mountain. Yi Qinchan was stunned. The blush on her face had already spread to her ears. This Lord Ling Xiao was really bad. However, when he was bad, he seemed to be a little charming. Chapter 18. At the foot of the Xianjian sect. At this moment, countless powerful auras descended from the sky and stood in groups of 3 to 5 at the entrance of the Xianjian sect. Yi Luyun took a look. Great! Almost all the forces in the western border of the northern wasteland were here. Especially Chu Batian of the Batian dynasty and Dong Yu Dao of the Donghua sect. They stood at the head of the crowd, looking like they were going to rule the world. Haha, I was wondering who had such a lineup. So it's King Chu and Brother Yu Dao. Yi Luyun's expression was calm as he looked at the group of people at the foot of the mountain. He was already thinking, if they knew that there was a young master from the Xingzhou in the Xianjian sect, what kind of expression would they have? Chu Batian and Dong Yudao looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Wasn't Yi Luyun's performance too calm? Could it be that the Grand Elder of the Xianjian sect was not dead? Or was Yi Luyun just deliberately mystifying things? That's not right. This time, all the major forces in the northern wasteland were here, and they even brought the treasures of their sects to destroy the Xianjian sect in one fell swoop. Even if the Grand Elder of the Xianjian sect was not dead, he would definitely not be able to defeat Chu Batian and Dong Yudao. How could a mere Yi Luyun be a match for everyone? This Yi Luyun did not hide on the mountain and activate the sect-protecting formation like a coward. He actually dared to appear here alone. Could it be that his brain was damaged? That's right, if his brain was not damaged, how could he disappoint that peerless genius Chu Yang for an outsider? What a sect valued was naturally the inheritance of the Tao. A disciple with monstrous talent was much more precious than any spirit treasure or fortune. This old thing must be deliberately mystifying things. King Chu, why don't you test his strength? Dong Yudao secretly transmitted his voice to Chu Batian. Why don't you go? Isn't Chu Yang your nephew? As an uncle, you're not even active. Aren't you going to be laughed at? Dong Yudao was an old schemer. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. Moreover, he had interacted with Yi Luyun for so many years, how could he not know his character? Although the Xianjian sect master's sword intent was unparalleled, he was extremely cautious and timid. He never did anything he wasn't sure of. Chu Baishan's face turned red when he heard Dong Yudao's words. He regretted it. If he had known that this group of old foxes were so crafty, he wouldn't have bragged so much. If he didn't go up now, wouldn't he be slapping himself in the face? Yi Luyun, stop trying to be mysterious. You should know why I'm here today, right? Chu Batian raised his foot and took a step forward. Golden light burst forth from his body like a scorching sun, so bright that it was difficult for people to open their eyes. The path of the emperor that he cultivated was already incomparably domineering. Now that he was intentionally showing off, it really made many people suck in a breath of cold air. Chu Batian made another breakthrough? This aura is close to middle stage Soul Sea realm already, right? This is too terrifying. I'm afraid that in a few years, the western frontier will belong to the Chu clan. I don't think so. Look at how fearless Yi Luyun is. Maybe he has also broken through? So what if you've broken through? More than 800 of us can't even defeat him? Waves of discussions immediately came from the foot of the mountain, but a hint of a smile appeared on Yi Luyun's face. This old fogey was still as impatient as before. But he came just in time. Originally, when his cultivation broke through, he wanted to use these few bouncing around happily to establish his might. And no matter how powerful this Chu Baishan's cultivation was, he had not stepped into middle-stage Soul Sea realm yet either. Yi Luyun was a genuine middle-stage Soul Sea realm powerhouse now. This was still all thanks to the medicinal pills bestowed by Lord Ling Shao previously. So-called what matter? What does King Chu's words mean? Could it be that you all mustered a large force and brought spirit treasures here, not to deliver gifts? The corners of Yi Luyun's mouth revealed a hint of a cold smile. This bunch of ants thought that by relying on a few low-grade divine artifacts, they could provoke his mystic sword sect? Most likely, Lord Ling Shao could crush them to death with a flick of a finger. Deliver gifts? The aura on Chu Baishan's body turned cold. Then he looked at Yi Luyun rather incredulously. Was this old thing's brain really short-circuited? Could he not tell that they came here today to destroy his mystic sword sect? Yi Luyun, death is at hand and you're still deliberately mystifying things. To tell you the truth, I came here today to seek justice for my nephew, Chu Yang. Although Chu Baishan's temper was irritable, he still had some brains. He knew that the various sect masters would definitely snatch Chu Yang later, so he expressed his sincerity here first, also gaining the upper hand. So Chu Yang is King Chu's nephew? Then you have to thank Lord Ling Shao properly later. If not for young master's magnanimity, you'd probably have to collect your nephew's corpse today. Yi Luyun smiled disdainfully. This King Chu was really courting death, insisting on claiming kinship for no reason and even coming to seek revenge. Once he angered young master, he would probably not be able to go down this mountain. Ling Xiao? Who's Ling Xiao? Chu Batian thought for a long time, but could not think of a young master called Ling Xiao in the northern wilderness. He only thought that Yi Luyun was deliberately playing with him. Yeah, I'm so angry. Yi Luyun, cut the crap. Let me see if your cultivation has improved after holing up in the mystic sword sect for a few years. With that, Chu Batian took a step forward, and the mountain beneath him shattered instantly. His figure appeared above Yi Luyun's head. Die. Chu Batian punched out with both fists. The surrounding golden light gathered on his fists, and like a furious dragon, they tore through the air. It's the secret technique of the Chu royal clan, Heavenly Tyrant Fist. I didn't expect King Chu to be so violent at his age. He used such a killer move right off the bat. Many people were shocked. Looking at the figure surrounded by golden light, their eyes were filled with fear. Heavenly Tyrant Fist, a heaven-grade martial art. In the northern wilderness, this was the most powerful technique. Not to mention Yi Luyun, even the Reliance sect master, Guizhou, who specialized in defense, did not dare to face Chu Batian's fist head-on. But, to everyone's surprise, Yi Luyun was still standing in place calmly. He had no intention of retreating at all. There was not even a trace of qi leaking out of his body. He just looked at the approaching golden figure with a mocking gaze. Buzz. It was very sudden. Suddenly, there was a soft hum between heaven and earth. Then, a ray of green light bloomed above everyone's heads. In the blink of an eye, a giant green sword about 100 feet long appeared out of thin air. It sliced through the void and fell toward Chu Batian. At that moment, heaven and earth collapsed, and space trembled. Everyone felt a sense of death rise in their hearts. The sword was so fast that it completely annihilated Chu Batian's tiny figure and the dim golden light. Gulp. Heaven and earth suddenly quieted down. At the foot of the mystic sword sect's mountain, smoke rose everywhere. 100-foot-long ravine extended from the mountain gate to Dong Yu Dao and the others. But none of them moved, because at that moment, a terrifying divine sense was locked onto them. Who is it? Who is it? When did such a powerful cultivator appear in the northern wilderness? Chapter 19. Cough, cough. A violent coughing sound came from the dust cloud. Next, Chu Batian escaped in a sorry state, landing beside Dong Yu Dao and the others. At this moment, the monarch of the Sky Tyrant dynasty was no longer as high-spirited as before. His hair was disheveled and the corners of his mouth were full of blood. Even the golden armor on his body was completely shattered. This armor was a divine artifact that had been passed down for hundreds of years in the Sky Tyrant dynasty. He destroyed a divine artifact with a single sword strike? What kind of terrifying might was this? When the dust finally settled, everyone saw the old figure standing on top of Yi Luyun's head. He had green clothes, white hair, and a skinny face. Although there was not the slightest bit of aura emanating from his body, just by standing there, he made people feel a sense of sharpness in their hearts. What a terrifying sword intent! This is the Grand Elder of the Black Sword Sect, the Green Divine Sword Wei Wuqian. It's Wei Wuqian. Many of the leaders' expressions changed instantly. This name had more or less left a shadow in their hearts. The Black Sword Sect reached its peak in the hands of this powerful swordsman. Even those who dared to underestimate the Black Sword Sect had their sects slaughtered by him. But hadn't he been in seclusion for 10 years? At his age, he should have passed away a long time ago. But looking at his current appearance, it was obvious that he was full of vitality and even had a breakthrough in his swordsmanship. How was that possible? Why are you here? Wei Wuqian stood in the air and glanced at the people below. Everyone who looked at him had fear in their eyes. Could it be that this old thing had broken through? Everyone knew that people cultivated to pursue longevity. The division of realms was also the division of lifespan. Although there were no longer any powerful cultivators in the Paong state in the Four Barren Lands, but it was said that there were still a few Xianqing demons in the demon race who had not appeared. The human race had declined and no Xianqing cultivators had appeared for a long time. Could it be that Wei Wuqian was lucky enough to take that step? But he was a dying man who had used all his cultivation to save his life. It was fortunate that his realm did not fall. Where did he get the energy to break through? Moreover, if he had entered the Xianqing state long ago, why did he only come out today? Or, did he just break through recently? For some reason, many people suddenly thought of the mysterious Lord Ling Xiao. It was said that on that day, this young master had casually bestowed a pill, allowing the number one genius of the Xianjian sect, Xiao Guo, to break through to the awakening God stage. Is it possible? F***ck, it seems like we've kicked an iron plate? Dong Yudeo's expression froze. Suddenly, a gentle smile bloomed on his face as he bowed to Wei Wuqian. I have long heard that the Grand Elder of the Xianjian sect, Senior Wei Wuqian, is peerless in the way of the sword. Little Taoist is impressed. Of course, I'm here today to pay my respects to you, Senior. At the same time, I also want to pay a visit to that Lord Ling Xiao. Puqi. Chu Beishan's bloodline, which had just calmed down, flared up once more as he spat out a mouthful of blood. On this point, he was quite similar to Chu Yang. The way of the East. You! Haha, doesn't King Chu want to seek an explanation for your nephew? Please help yourself. This old dog. If I don't kill you in the future, I swear I'm not human. Chu Beishan's face turned green. He knew that today, the most shameless leaders of the northern wilderness were all here. Otherwise, they would not have done such a thing. But he had underestimated their shamelessness. Before the battle even began, Chu Batian turned around and saw that his teammate had surrendered. Oh, you want to pay a visit to Lord Ling Xiao? But Dong Yudeo's flattery was in the wrong place. Whether it was Wei Wuqian or Yi Luyun, they had all relied on Ling Xiao's pills to increase their cultivation. But Dong Yudao had ignored the fundamentals and focused on the details. Was this not a slap to Lord Ling Xiao's face? Yi Luyun sneered and looked at Dong Yudao meaningfully. Dong Yudao's heart skipped a beat. F***ck, is Lord Ling Xiao really stronger than Wei Wuqian? What do you mean by the way? Suddenly, a ripple appeared in the sky. Then, a handsome figure in black appeared out of thin air. His divine elegance was unparalleled, and he was incomparably handsome. On his fair and indifferent face, there was 7 parts arrogance and 3 parts contempt. It was as if these northern wilderness elites were nothing in his eyes. Compared to him, the so-called elites of the northern wilderness were not even worth mentioning. No, the elites of the northern wilderness were not qualified to be compared to this black-robed prince. Behind him, Yi Qingchan looked respectful. She did not look like the goddess of the sword sect, but more like the prince's servant. She did not dare to overstep her boundaries. But when the two of them stood together, it did feel like they were immortals. Could it be that the number one beauty of the northern wilderness had found a home? When Ling Xiao's figure landed on the ground, something that left everyone dumbfounded happened. The sword god in green, Wei Wuqian, who was high and mighty just now, bowed respectfully to the peerless prince. "Welcome, Lord Ling Xiao. Welcome, Lord Ling Xiao." Then, all the elders and disciples of the Black Sword sect bowed in unison. The elegant prince was unparalleled in the world. His appearance alone was such a grand show of extravagance. Dong Yudao and the rest were so shocked that they could not speak. At the same time, they were secretly guessing the identity of this Lord Ling Xiao. To be able to make a Xianqing Grand Elder put down his dignity and bow to show goodwill, could it be that he, Xingzhou? Dong Yudao's forehead was covered in cold sweat. His cultivation was only at the early stage of the Soul Sea realm, which was slightly weaker than Yi Luyun. Wei Wuchen's appearance today already made him feel terrified. And if this young Master Ling Xiao really came from the Xingzhou continent, then he hadn't just kicked an iron plate, but a steel plate. What's there to be afraid of? Dong Yudao, if you and I join hands to stop Wei Wuchen, we might still have a chance of winning this battle. Poor Chu Batian still could not see the situation clearly. Or rather, the path of the emperor that he cultivated did not allow him to be as humble and reserved as Dong Yudao and the rest. Otherwise, it would be a devastating blow to his Dao heart. Emperors pressed forward courageously. If gods blocked them, they would kill gods. If devils blocked them, they would kill devils. In Xingzhou, those primordial imperial court emperors were indeed overbearing. That was because they had enough capital. As for Chu Batian, Ling Xiao glanced at Dong Yudao with a smile that was not a smile, and there seemed to be a dark light flickering in his eyes. Then, he repeated what he said just now. You haven't told me how you want to pay me a visit? Plop. As the saying went, the older one was, the more one feared death. Especially a sect master like Dong Yudao, who did not enjoy glory and wealth, and ran over to offend this Lord Ling Xiao. What was this if not courting death? Therefore, he did not hesitate at all and directly knelt down under the shocked eyes of all the powerhouses below the mountain. Chapter 20. Gulp. At that moment, everyone, including Yi Luyun and the others, had a trace of stupefaction and shock on their faces. The leader of the Donghua clan, a famous strong cultivator in the northern wilderness. He actually knelt down because of Lord Ling Xiao's words? What kind of power was this? What kind of aura was this? It was not an exaggeration to say that he was unparalleled, right? Interesting. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and looked at the elder at the foot of the mountain even more playfully. Actually, he didn't need to do anything. Wei Wuchen alone was enough to crush this group of rotten fish. But he really didn't expect Dong Yudao to be so bold. The dignity of a strong cultivator, the backbone of the clan, and the unyielding will were not worth mentioning at all in his eyes. Sir, you are so mighty that I am terrified. Every time I see you, I feel the endless admiration in my heart. Today, I specially came thousands of miles to visit you and present the divine weapon of the Donghua clan, the Great Void Tripod. I hope you can give me some face and accept this small gift. I know that a divine weapon is worthless to you, young noble, but this is a token of your sincerity, young noble. Please accept it. After he finished speaking, Dong Yudao waved his hand. A clear light immediately flew out from his sleeve and was caught by Dong Yudao. An inferior grade divine weapon? With just a few words, Ling Xiao knew that Dong Yudao was an old bootlicker. Just now, he just released a bit of divine consciousness, and this old bootlicker actually knelt down immediately. However, this feeling of being bootlicker everywhere he went was indeed comfortable. Begging others to accept the divine weapon of the clan. Such a natural bootlicker couldn't be learned in a day or two. No wonder the Donghua clan could stand in the northern wilderness for hundreds of years. With Dong Yudao in charge, they would definitely be able to turn misfortunes into blessings. Do you like it? Ling Xiao turned and looked at Yi Qinchan. His tone was extremely gentle. Sir. Yi Qinchan was a bit stunned. Does young master mean to give this divine artifact to me? This is a divine weapon. As one of the most powerful forces in the northern barren territory, the Donghua clan only had one divine implement, and since the Xianjian sect had been passed down until now, only his father, Yi Luyun, had a cyan sparrow sword that symbolized the identity of the sect master, and it was a low-grade divine tool. It could be said that in the northern wilderness, divine artifacts were the key to a sect's fate. Lord Ling Xiao actually gave him a divine artifact in front of so many people? What kind of honor was this? How fortunate! Yi Luyun's old face instantly smiled like a little chrysanthemum. F***ck. It seemed like the relationship between Lord Ling Xiao and Qing Chan was already quite deep. How could Chu Yang, Chu Ri, and Chu Yang compare to him in terms of boldness and generosity? No, in front of the young master, they didn't deserve to have names. Take it if you like it. Divine artifacts are of no use to me. Ling Xiao casually tossed the great void cauldron to Yi Qinchan, causing Dong Yudeo's heart to ache. Young master, this is a divine artifact. You should at least show that you like it. At least my hard work won't be in vain. But on second thought, Dong Yudao felt relieved. It would be good if she could accept it. Although Lord Ling Zhao's aura was not fluctuating at all, the power in his eyes just now made Dong Yudao feel as deep and terrifying as an abyss. Not only was he a Xingzhou young master with a terrifying background, but he was also a peerless genius with terrifying cultivation. At this moment, many female disciples at the foot of the mountain were looking at Yi Qinchan with obvious jealousy in their eyes. Why? How could Yi Qinchan be the only one who could receive Lord Ling Zhao's favor? How am I inferior to her in any way? With this thought in mind, many saintesses, princesses, and prideful goddesses of the northern wilderness began to quietly pull down their sleeves, revealing their slender waists. Some even puffed out their chests, hoping that the high and mighty Lord Ling Xiao would look at them. Did you just say that Chu Yang is your nephew? Ling Xiao turned to look at Chu Batian with a gloomy look in his eyes. But on second thought, he understood the relationship between the two of them. Chu Yang's status as a small family was probably due to his downfall. Chu Batian might really be his uncle. Back then, he fought with Chu Yang's father for power and exiled his family to the mountains. According to the original plan, the first thing Chu Yang would do after ascending the Path of Swords was to go down the mountain and seek revenge from Chu Batian. He did not expect Chu Batian to come knocking on his door. Unfortunately, Chu Yang was already dead. Otherwise, Ling Xiao would have been able to watch a good show of 30 years. With Yi Luyun and Yi Qinchan behind him, Chu Batian might not be able to escape unscathed from Black Sword sect. That's right. Chu Batian's golden light flashed again, and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard. So you're cultivating the way of the Emperor. No wonder you're so reckless. Ling Xiao nodded. No one saw him move at all, but Chu Batian trembled inexplicably, and his aura instantly withered. I've already killed Chu Yang. Are you going to seek revenge for him? Ling Xiao sneered. Chu Batian was only at the early stage of the Soul Sea realm. Even if he did not use the Sky Demon True Body, he could easily crush him with just his strength. Moreover, Ling Zhao's soul was now comparable to an immortal Ascension Realm cultivator. Even Wei Wuchen would tremble in fear when he saw him. Moreover, the way of the Emperor of the Four Barren Lands was just a name. The real ancient emperors of the Xingzhou continent were accompanied by lightning and true dragons with every word and action. How laughable! A fake emperor of the Barren Lands dared to show off in front of him. You actually killed Chu Yang? Chu Batian's shout caused many of the surrounding experts to tremble in fear. This Chu Batian was really reckless. The Donghua sect master had already knelt down, and he still dared to shout at Lord Ling Xiao. If he angered Lord Ling Xiao, none of them would be able to leave today. At this moment, many experts were already regretting their actions. Why did they have to join in the fun? Although the Black Sword Sect's foundation was tempting, they had to be alive to seize it. When did Yi Luyun, this old fox, latch onto Lord Ling Zhao's thigh? A peerless young master like him must have a background in the Xingzhou continent, right? Kill him. Ling Xiao grinned without any warmth on his face. Heaven and earth instantly became oppressive, and dark clouds faintly crept over from the top of the mountain. What a good reincarnation! Good kill. Chu Yang, this traitor, I've been searching for him bitterly for 5 years. I didn't expect him to hide in the Black Sword sect. Chu Batian stood proudly in front of everyone in his golden robes. His tone was still as domineering as before, but why did his words sound a little off? Thank you, Lord Ling Xiao, for getting rid of a huge threat to the Sky Tyrant Empire. I have nothing to repay you with, but I'll present you with my 100 years of accumulation as a token of my gratitude. Everyone stared blankly at the upright ruler of the Sky Tyrant Empire. After a long while, they swallowed their saliva. Little Tian? Chu Batian? The great King Chu had been dominating the northern barren lands with absolute dominance ever since he became famous. Originally, everyone thought that he would definitely die today to prove his Tao. Unexpectedly, needless to say, his way of seeking perfection was quite unique. Chapter 21. Oh, Qin-chan, what do you think? Should I accept this gift or not? Ling Xiao looked at Yi Qin-chan again. It was as if all his preferences depended on this woman. Of course, Ling Xiao had his own reasons for doing so. In order to completely conquer a woman, besides playing hard to get, he also had to give her a sense of security. He had to make her feel that he needed her. Now that Yi Qin-chan had expressed her willingness to submit to him, he just had to use a little more tricks to completely capture her. Ah, young master, you can decide. Yi Qin-chan blushed, especially when she felt the killing intent in the eyes of many saintesses and princesses below the mountain. She felt an indescribable sweetness in her heart. I am not talented, but I am fortunate to have received young master's favor. I have nothing to repay you with, but I can only repay you with my body. Beat. Congratulations to the host for receiving Yi Qin-chan's love. Luck points increased by 50 points. Sure enough, this silly woman was already starting to lose her mind. He just didn't know what she would become after she regained her memories. Forget it. No matter what she became, which woman in this world could escape from his grasp? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and casually threw a flirtatious glance at a pretty girl in the crowd. Ah! The woman's expression froze for a moment before she let out a blood-curdling scream and fainted from excitement. You good-for-nothing! Hurry up and wake up! Beside her, a white-haired old woman was anxious. She poured the spiritual energy of pills into the woman's mouth. It's not easy for Lord Ling Xiao to look at you. Why are you so good-for-nothing? You actually fainted. What about you guys? Are you also visiting me on the way? Ling Xiao smiled. As expected, it was better to be the villain. He could flirt with beautiful women casually and hit the mark. If he was the son of destiny, not only would he have to pretend to be righteous at all times, he would also have to be loyal. Otherwise, once he attracted the attention of women, he would be scolded badly. What's so good about having a single female lead? You can't have multiple wives in real life. You have to be loyal even when reading novels. Go read Dream of the Red Chamber. Young master, my Xianyuan ancient sect offers you a divine weapon, the heaven-breaking hammer. I hope you will kindly accept it. Young master, my great fantasy dynasty offers a divine flame saint talisman. Please take pity on us. Young master, my thousand charm sect offers our saintess, Feng Jiao. We are willing to become young master's personal servant. F***ck. Many experts instantly turned their heads to look at the beautiful middle-aged woman who had spoken last. Their eyes were filled with disdain. However, disdain was disdain, and many people were already regretting not thinking of it. This Lord Ling Xiao looked like a celestial being, but he was clearly a lecher. Otherwise, why would he ask for Yi Qin-chan's opinion on everything? The Thousand Charm Sect's actions could be considered to have truly catered to his interests. But to everyone's disappointment, Ling Xiao accepted all the gifts and turned around to give them to Yi Qin-chan. It was obvious that Yi Qin-chan's place in his heart was unshakable. Thousand Charm Sect? Ling Xiao looked at the scantily dressed young girl beside him, and the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile. This young girl called Feng Jiao before him was indeed extremely beautiful. Moreover, her entire body revealed a wave of charm. Although her appearance was not as otherworldly as Yi Qingchan's, to men, she was even more alluring. Humph! Yi Qingchan stood behind Ling Xiao. Her black brows were slightly knitted together, and she let out a light snort. Ling Xiao looked at her with interest, and then slightly shook his head. Qingchan, are you unhappy? How would Qingchan dare? Yi Qingchan's little face was cold as she fiercely rolled her eyes at Ling Xiao. Seeing this, Feng Jiao instantly pursed her lips and lightly smiled. She walked lightly to Ling Xiao's side. My daughter, Feng Jiao will be young master's servant in the future. Whatever young master wants Jiao to do, Jiao will do it. Oh? So obedient? Alright, then from now on you will follow Qingchan and be her servant girl. Ling Xiao indifferently smiled. Before Feng Jiao could react, he had already turned around and walked towards the great hall at the top of the mountain. All sect masters, please come to the hall for a chat. Young master! Feng Jiao angrily stomped her little foot when she saw the pride on Yi Qingchan's face. However, she still followed the two in the end. As long as I can follow young master, will I still have to worry about not finding an opportunity? Master said that the Xingzhou ancient clans place the most importance on inheritance. As long as I can bear young master's child. Ling Xiao naturally did not care about Feng Jiao's thoughts. How could he not see that the thousand charm sect's holy girl had practiced the art of seduction? However, this level of seduction was simply not worth mentioning to Ling Xiao. In the Xingzhou continent there was the Green Hill Fox clan. The women of that clan were naturally seductive. Ordinary men would only need to take one look to fall in love with them and lose themselves in their thoughts. Compared to the Fox clan, Feng Jiao was not even worth a fart. Young master, that Feng Jiao is so beautiful. Do you have the heart to make her my servant? Yi Qingchan held onto Ling Xiao's arm. There was some surprise between her brows. Although she did not like this enchantress, she understood what the thousand charm sect's holy girl meant to men. However, Ling Xiao's gaze was very calm from beginning to end. This made Yi Qingchan increasingly feel that this Xingzhou young master was unfathomable. You don't have to be suspicious of anything. I am very satisfied with having you now. It was very simple words of love that did not even have much sincerity. Even Yi Qingchan knew that Ling Xiao was lying to her. However, it sounded very warm. Although Ling Xiao was definitely not a good match, it was undeniable that he fulfilled all the fantasies that a woman had for a Dao partner. He was incomparably handsome, had a terrifying cultivation base, had a noble status, and knew how to be romantic. Unfortunately, how could a villain fall in love? Hee. Yi Qingchan nestled on Ling Xiao's shoulder in satisfaction, causing Feng Jiao's expression to become even more gloomy. Mystic Sword Sect's main hall. Ling Xiao was half lying on the main seat in the hall, holding a cup of sake in his hand. Yi Qingchan and Feng Jiao stood on both sides, pouring him wine and tea from time to time. Ling Xiao lowered his eyes and drank. Although he did not speak, he gave people a kind of pressure that was as deep as the abyss. At this moment, the leaders of the various forces standing in the hall did not even dare to breathe too loudly. Everyone, I called you here to ask you some things. Ling Xiao finished his cup of wine and sat up straight again, looking at everyone in the hall. Ah? Lord Ling Xiao, feel free to ask. We will tell you everything we know. Yes. What does young master want to ask? There is no news in the northern wilderness that we do not know. The leaders of the various forces were extremely enthusiastic, competing to show off in front of Ling Xiao. I will give you 3 days to help me find out about the recent rising talents in the northern wilderness. I want those who suddenly rose up. Ling Xiao nodded and smiled, but the coldness in his eyes made the temperature of the entire hall drop. Chu Yang was dead. Where was the next child of destiny? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.